throw out the first pitch.
Oh, don't hold me to that. Come on. I need a redo. That wasn't cool, Rod.
These guys are different. From each other, that is. One, a superstar athlete, celebrity, and businessman.
Concentrated focus.
The other, a baseball nut from the Bronx, the big voice.
We're talking baseball.
One, a path of fame, fashion. The other, not so much.
And you're right.
One played the game. The other calls it.
See ya! Alex Rodriguez comes through.
They share a love for that game that they can talk about forever.
Best team in baseball.
And that's the connection.
Having big hands, the bat always felt like a toothpick.
It's down to a 10% charge. You better ask your best questions right off the top.
We got lower and lower as the years went on.
I learned how to do a backflip because of Ozzie Smith.
Belly is a great baseball fan, and then we had Ozzie. What a night.
Tonight, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox. Michael Kay and KayRod. Two guys different in every way, except one, baseball. Grab your peanuts and Cracker Jacks. It's time for the KayRod cast.
Welcome to KayRod, live from the South Street Seaport Studios here in New York City. Yankees against the Red Sox. Hi, everybody. Michael Kay, Alex Rodriguez, Knicks 32. But it wasn't against the Timberwolves, so we're glad we have time for KayRod. And what a show we have tonight. Forget about the Yankees, Red Sox. That sells itself. Look at some of the guests that we have coming on. This is the one I'm thrilled about. Billy Crystal is going to start the show with us. And then we go to Landis Sims, which is one of the great stories you'll ever hear. You have to hear from this young man. These two guys forever entwined in baseball history. They'll be live from Fenway Park. David Duchovny, a huge Yankee fan. And then, you know what? Roger said I had such a good time a couple of weeks ago, I want to come back.
He wants more.
He wants more. You know what I want more of? Billy Crystal, the great Billy Crystal is with us, starring on Broadway, Mr. Saturday Night.
Hi, guys.
Are you ready for baseball?
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah, Yankees, Red Sox.
Would you help me hold this? This is really heavy. My former teammate, Billy Crystal.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to hear from Billy. We're going to have the Yankees against the Red Sox. You're going to settle in. You're going to have a great time watching KayRod right here on ESPN2. Promise, it's going to be awesome. Well, the Yankees have taken two of the first three games from Fenway Park. This is the fourth and final game of this four-game set. Welcome back to KayRod here in New York City. That's the statue of the teammates right outside the outfield wall at Fenway Park. And standing in front of the KayRod wall, you've got the Yankee lineup, Alex.
I do, Michael, and it is a good one. And the guy to focus on is all-world Aaron Judge, who's the most electric player in our game today. Aaron Judge leads the world in every category. But a dirty little secret, Michael and Billy, only a 180 hitter in 32 career games at Fenway, looking to break out in a big way tonight.
All right, now the guy that lineup is going to face is the Red Sox, Nick Pivetta, and he's been one of their best starters. The Red Sox have really been dealing with a lot of injuries this year, and so they have certainly been able to hang just a bit. Red Sox are waiting to exchange the lineup cards, as is Aaron Boone, with the umpires making their way on the field. And, you know, I'm so glad that you could join us today, Billy, because, you know, sometimes you talk to entertainers and say, oh, I'm a big fan, and then you go, well, name a player, and they don't know.
Right.
You're a legitimate, big-time Yankee fan.
Since 1956.
Why that day?
Mantle hit it off the facade that day. It was my first game. I was 8 years old, sitting there with my brothers and my dad, and I can still hear what that home run sounded like. it was just beyond belief. You know, for an 8-year-old kid to come there and see that beautiful field. We had a black and white TV. So when you come there and you see it in color for the first time, that old ballpark was still my favorite place.
Now, you became friends with him, though.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things. That's one of those crazy fringe benefits of being, you know, doing what we do. And I got to know him pretty well and became very good friends with him. And in fact, I was the guy who showed Mickey Mantle where his plaque was in Cooperstown.
He had never seen where it was?
No, because the day that he was put in, he left. He left. He felt very upset, and he left. He never felt he was good enough.
Really?
Shouldn't have been there. He had 100-and-something friends there, and he just took off. So I was hosting a show for NBC. A funny look at baseball. It was for the All-Star game. It was the night before the All-Star game, which was going to be on NBC then. And I was the host, and Mickey was a guest. And he was going to be on the show, and we were going to do some things together. And the night before, when he got there, he said, you know, I've never seen my plaque. I don't even know where it is. And I said, well, we have a 7 a.m. call tomorrow, so I'll show you. And we went into the hall and into the great place, and I showed it to him, and he went, why am I there? How come I'm with Rube Marquardt? How come I'm not with Mays? I should be with Willie. And then he was complaining about where he was. But it was very moving to be there with this all-time great hero of mine, and so many people in baseball, of course. And I got to walk the field with him in Cooperstown, and it was for the end credits of the show. So they wanted us to play catch together while they were rolling credits. So I'm throwing it to him, and, you know, he couldn't move very well, and I'm trying so hard to get it to him so he wouldn't move, and, you know, when you're trying to get it to him, you don't. And it went about 10 feet to his right, and it bounced, and I said, Mickey, I'm really sorry. He said, no, I'm sorry, because if I could get that, I'd still be playing.
And he made you limp as a kid, right?
Yeah, I limped when I was 8, 9 years old for no reason. I did my bar mitzvah with an Oklahoma drawl.
Nice.
You know, yeah.
Billy, I'm wondering, like, not all of us get a chance to meet our heroes, right?
Sure.
Mickey Mantle was a hero to so many. How was he the guy that you admired in the black and white TV versus your friend that became your friend later on?
Well, you know, it's touchy, Alex, because, you know, he had so many faults as a human being and so many problems that I was, you know, there for. And spent long nights with him when they'd be drinking too much and trying to talk him down. And Bob Costas and I spent a long night with him trying to tell him what he meant to us. And Bob, who's a baseball genius, carries his baseball card in his wallet, that it's all almost disintegrated now. I mean, because that's how much we loved him. So I went through a couple of nights with him that were not pleasant to witness, but he was so funny and so smart and had so many demons about, I wasn't good enough, I should have been better, I should have hit 650 home runs, I should have done that, I didn't take good care of myself. You know, and he was the one who said, if I'd known, you know, it was going to be like this, I would have taken better care of myself. You know, but to get to know him, the way I got to know some other comic greats, like Sid Caesar, my other heroes of the 50s, you know, was an amazing thing that I was able to do.
All right, so we're underway at Fenway, and you have DJ LeMahieu leading off against Nick Pivetta. The Yankees have a 15-game lead over the Red Sox. Red Sox pulled one out last night. First game the Yankees have lost all year, where they led in the 8th inning or later. So the Red Sox won in extra innings on a Verdugo 2-run single. So the Yankees will try to take 3 out of 4. They take a lot of series this year, and there's a breaking ball as LeMahieu is down on strikes. What do you think of this Yankee team, Billy?
Oh, they're phenomenal. But we were saying a little bit ago, I'm a little nervous lately because, you know, pitching has been a little bit of a question mark. Tyone has not been as good as he was early. Cortez has been a little iffy. But they make up for it because they just hit home runs after home runs. They're awesome, and the defense has been tremendous. And they're stealing bases.
Yes, which is amazing.
See, but I get nervous because you said the 15-game lead. I very well remember 1978. They had a 15-game lead, and we ended up in a playoff. We ended up winning and going to the World Series and winning that. But they're still scary because the playoff system may not work for us. Yeah, it's different. Now, who's this guy up?
This is Aaron Judge. You might have heard of him.
He's very big.
Very, very big. Now, you mentioned the stat, Alex, when you were at the board.
Yeah.
This guy has one of the lowest batting average of any player over 150 at-bats at Fenway Park since 1950. Why?
That's incredible. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Fenway is a place that I loved to hit. But there's some stadiums, like I could not put the ball in play in some stadiums.
Why is that?
Sometimes, like, you go to Wrigley, and when you line up, almost like you line up in the fairway, it just looks like you're off center. And the ball just, like, the slider, you can't get to it. The ball in almost hits you, and you take it as a strike, and then you swing it as a ball. It's very confusing. Maybe that's a little bit what's going on, but sometimes it just takes one pitch, one at bat, and boom, you're on your way.
But is it confusing because you only play there twice a year or something, and you're so used to what you look at the stadium or other places?
Yeah, but that's why it makes less sense with Aaron Judge, because for us, we play so much at Fenway. It almost feels like a second home because you're comfortable there, you know the locker room, you know the batter eye. Sometimes when we go to the Midwest and we go to a place like Wrigley, we don't play there often. I had the most impossible time trying to pick up the ball.
But now, so you get in the batter's box, and you know that wall is pretty close. High, but close. You could throw the ball over the left field wall. Are you looking at it and thinking about it, or are you looking to hit it to
That's
right
a great
center?
question, Billy. You know, when I struggled, I was consumed. There you go.
That breaks you out of a slump.
Yeah, I was consumed with the wall, and I struggled. Then Manny Ramirez told me the greatest secret and piece of advice, because he played there every day with the Red Sox. He said, pretend is not there. Try to go to right center field. And what happened was I would get these little breaking balls, just like Aaron Judge got. And because I was thinking right center, boom, you would hit it, and you go, oh, my God, we're at Fenway Park. So a lot of times you got to play little mental games with yourself.
Now, you've had such an incredible career in entertainment, but I know you really do truly love baseball. Would you give it up just to be an everyday player, not even great?
I'm 74.
I know, but you're still very quick.
I gave it up in 2008. I had my one at bat. That was the greatest thrill of my life. I've done a lot of different things, Oscars, what you can name it. My one at bat with the Yankees was the highlight of my life, and no one can take that away from me. That at one time, I was the leadoff batter for the New York Yankees with Derek Jeter and Alex following me.
Now, Alex gave you a post-game interview, right? After
No.
at-bat?
What happened when I finally struck out after 6 pitches, fouling one off. I fouled off, and it was so sweet. The fans stood up, and Alex called for the ball. Oh yeah. That hurt. I should not have. Yeah, see?
There you go.
And then he threw it. That's nasty.
That was filthy.
Yeah. And you guys were yelling at him from the dugout and from the bench. Throw one straight. Then Alex there got me the ball and says to me, so what was he throwing? Was it a cutter? And I said, I'm 59. It sounded inside.
It is amazing that he would throw you a breaking ball. I mean, give you a chance.
2 in a row.
Yeah.
2 in a row.
But listen, I get it. Do you want to be the pitcher who gives up a hit to a 59-year-old stand-up comic? Is that what you want to do? And it'll be on ESPN? I get it. But, to make contact was great, and to spend the day before with everybody and work out and hang out with the guys before and feel like a teammate, even for a day and a half, was a great thing.
But, Billy, you did something that I love our baseball fans, and there's so many of them, and they're everywhere. And I think they don't realize how difficult it is to be in that batter's box. And you got to do something that I wish millions of fans would get to do. But it is the single hardest thing to do in professional sports.
Whoop.
That one is ripped into right center field off the bat of Stanton, and that ball is gone. See ya. Home run for Stanton, a 2-run shot, and just like that, the Yankees are up.
Wow. He has so much power to places you don't think people can have power to.
Yeah.
When he's been hitting stuff in the upper deck at the stadium, it's insane.
I mean, a bloop and a blast, and that looked like a left-handed pull hitter,
It did.
line drive 2-iron.
And by the way, in high school, because he's from L.A., he was a great tight end on the football team and a great basketball player, too.
And he's been in a slump, Alex. In his last 34 games, he's hitting 139. Only Andrew Velasquez, the shortstop of the Angels, hitting less than that. But it's strange. He was 16 for 115 with 10 homers. So the power's still there, but he's not hitting for average.
Well, we're talking about the advice that Manny Ramirez gave me, and thinking right center field and Fenway, although it sounds counterintuitive, is exactly the right approach, and nothing will take you out of a slump faster than an opposite field home run.
And the thing about him, he doesn't hit towering shots a lot.
Right.
They're line drives that are just vicious. They get out there in 2-3 seconds.
Yeah, I
Crazy.
blink. You can't even say, you know, it is high as four. John Sterling always complains. Can't say high and four and gone.
I remember I sent you a text during a game. Was it this season? I think so, yeah. And it was about Mantle batting left-handed in the old stadium. And it was 461 to dead center, right? 457 to left center. And the monuments are on the field, right? And Costas and I, a lot of kids growing up thought the players were actually buried. And they had the batter eye, which was, you know, a big black tarp about 10 to 15 feet above the center field wall. And they were playing the White Sox, and Mickey was batting left-handed, and he hit it, and he threw his bat. He was so upset and ran with his head down, and the ball kept going and going and going straight center field over the batter's eye, 502 feet. I remember the picture with Gene Stevens was the White Sox center fielder running, and he ends up looking at the batter's eye like this is the ball, and they turned, and he just shook his head like, how did that happen? And he threw his bat. And he once said to me, you'll love this. I'm not sure about you, but he's going to love it.
We'll
No,
see.
it's an amazing thing. He said to me, you know, I hit 507 home runs, and I think, he said, it's going to sound weird, I think I hit maybe 20, 25, I felt I got all of it.
Wow. That's fine. I agree with that.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's 100% true.
The extra special ones?
Yeah, I mean, look, some of these ballparks, especially now, not that one, but some of these stadiums are pretty small. I've missed plenty of balls. And you got a cheap home run here and there. My 3,000 home run, which you called, I always laugh with Justin Verlander, who's a good buddy, throws me a fastball away. It was a pop-up to right field. And he's going, are you kidding me? That's your 3,000?
That was your 3,000th hit was a home run?
Yeah, right over right field, like first row, boom.
Alex, Derek, and Wade Boggs.
Wade Boggs, yeah.
The only three that get there.
Because the old stadium, you know, was 461 to dead center. Then it became 463, 457 to left center, 402 by the bullpen in left center, and then down the line was sort of right, and the right field was 296.
Yep.
To then it went right out to 344 and 407. So it was a monster, that place, and it sat 72,000 people.
Here's Alex's pop-up 3,000th hit.
I mean, I missed that ball completely. But I had some good backspin. It was hot summer night, and JD ran out of room, Martinez, who's playing tonight. I'm pointing there at my daughters.
And Josh Donaldson goes down on strikes. So a 2-run home run for Giancarlo Stanton against Nick Pivetta. It's the Yankees 2 and the Boston Red Sox coming to bat. All right, Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to be one of the starting outfielders for the American League in the All-Star game at Dodger Stadium, hits a 2-run home run in the top of the first. And now the Red Sox will try to come back against Jameson Taillon. So we have the wall at Fenway and now the famous wall here at the South Street Seaport. How about that Red Sox lineup, Alex?
Well, I'm going to focus on Bogaerts. He's one of my favorite shortstops, an all-star in July, 2 for 24. And with Devers out, Michael, they need to get him going tonight.
So the Red Sox will be facing Jameson Taillon of the New York Yankees. Got off to a great start. Of late, he has struggled just a little bit. The numbers are still very good. 9-2, 3.63. He has a whip of 1.15. And he's pitched very well against the Red Sox. 4 career starts, 2-0, sporting a 1.46 ERA. So he's got a 2-0 lead before he even throws a pitch. And Jarren Duran will start it off. Now, Billy, I know that you do an incredible Phil Rizzuto. Do you want to take the first batter?
I just did a matinee, so I don't know if it'd be good. Holy cow, who's this guy? Is that from that group, Duran? Is this No Mas?
Did you get to know him much?
Phil?
Yeah.
Yes, very well.
Really sweet man.
It was great. And many times one time we had dinner together and we said, let's just talk like each other. I'll talk like you. And we're both, with the waiter, it was hilarious. Hello, Mr. Rizzuto, what would you like? And he goes, I'm going to have the, that calamari looks good. I said, very good, sir. And you? Oh, that calamari looks good. I think I'll have that.
Now, you mentioned you had a matinee today. I've been lucky enough to see Mr. Saturday Night on Broadway. It is so great. But how tiring is this? I mean, for you to come over here after doing that, we have to thank you a million times. But how great is the show for you?
Well, it's been the joy of my life. It really has been such a great experience. And you saw it, and the audiences love it. And it's so funny. It's an amazing character to play. And, I made my Broadway musical comedy debut at 74. It's The Bear. We did a show Friday, 2 Saturday, and one today. That's why I sound a little bit like Elaine Stritch right now. but it's just so much fun. The audiences love this show, and we've just been having an amazing cast to work with, and it's been a gift. It's been a real gift.
I was talking with Bob Costas about it, and then we're talking about 700 Sundays.
Yes.
And this. And he said something so beautiful. He said, Billy Crystal writes about things that happen in his life and performs things that happen in his life, but the way he does it makes you think he's talking about you.
Oh, that's nice. Well, it's personal. We especially 700 Sundays, which was this, story you saw, and
the 700 Sundays you spent with your dad.
Yeah, and then everyone at some point we lose loved ones, and it was how I dealt with it at 15, and the man who turned me on to baseball, the man who took me to that first game back in 1956, who taught me how to hit curveballs, who pitched to me and my brothers, and so that's a universal thing, is the relationship of fathers and sons, and then later, my mother comes into the story, and so you write what's honest to you, and the things that I love most, Michael, is when I'm talking in those situations, and I see the audience doing what you're doing, when they're nodding their heads, then you know that you're reaching them.
How do you see the audience with the lights?
Well, in that show, I could see sort of their outlines, the silhouettes. In that show, I was about to make contact. Whoa, hurry up. Whoa.
That was
Rizzo
very Rizzuto-like.
Holy cow. That Rizzo, I tell you, he's like a hockey goalie. Shot saved by Rizzo. Kicked out by Rizzo.
Now, I know you love watching Yankee games, so the fact that you're doing these shows at night, do you miss the games?
Well, sometimes I catch like the last inning or two. I keep it in my dressing room. I have a set, and I'm very rarely off the stage. But I come in and what's the score? And my dresser keeps me, she keeps me posted. She's a Yankee fan too, and so I keep tabs of what I can, the best I can. The best is when you guys are on the West Coast, then I can do it, Then I come home, like I'm looking forward to the Clipper season because we're going to be really good. Watch out for us. Watch out for us. They have a huge front line now.
They've got a good team.
With Rudy and oh man, they're going to be good.
Clippers, you'll be healthy, though. You guys are going to be really tough.
Yeah, we're very deep.
So Kawhi feels like playing? He's going to be all right?
Yeah, I hope so. He didn't say anything to me or to anybody else. But he's an amazing player, and Paul George. We're very deep. I think we have the deepest lineup in the NBA right now. And
you have one of the greatest owner, Ballmer. Reminds me of Steinbrenner for just his passion. He's into it every day. And if there's a competition about money, everybody's going to lose against Ballmer.
Yeah, and he's a really brilliant guy.
Yeah.
And a very nice man. And I just think we have and I think Ty Lue is one of the great coaches in the NBA.
Well, the Yankees started this wondrous season at opening day, and Billy Crystal was there to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
And he hooked it just a bit, but Garrett Cole was starting the game. He was screaming, "Hurry up, let's go!"
Well,
what happened, Bill?
Nothing happened to me. I didn't even know that he was upset. And I'm sorry he was upset, but why are you upset? It's opening day. There's always delays.
Right.
And that day in particular was this beautiful young girl from the Ukraine who sang a very long anthem. It was so much more important than anything else.
Right.
And then they brought me out, and they said, "Hurry up!" So I threw it without even. I didn't even let me warm up or anything. So at least I got it there. And then I heard afterwards that he was upset.
So you heard that day that he was chapped?
Yeah, when I got back to the show, and they said, "Well, he was upset." And I go, "Why? About his first inning?" And they said, "No, that you took too." I said, "I didn't take too long. I got out there and I pulled it to the left."
You should see what he said to the Ukrainian girl.
No, you can't let stuff get to you in any way. That's what happened today in the Wimbledon final. I don't know if you saw it. No. Where he got so upset with the fans and with his own team,
right?
With his own training team, and he's yelling at them. And then he lost. He should have won maybe in straight sets.
Didn't he say like, "Bro, she had 700 drinks or something"?
Something.
Yeah.
But he lost his cool. And you can't. You can't.
Alex, did you ever lose your cool in a game where it affected your performance?
I don't think so. If I did, I wouldn't have had a career, right? Because they were coming at me fast and furious. But I did a pretty good job. I always marveled how Jeter can have conversation with kids. I wouldn't even look up. And even if maybe my daughters will say hi, but then I'm pretty locked in.
Matt Carpenter's been locked in most of the season. What a year for him. It's just amazing. And now that they're playing him in the outfield some, he's getting more at-bats, and he's just been an incredible story. He couldn't hit for the last 2 years. 9 of his 20 hits this season have left the yard. What a guy off the bench.
Well, in those last years, did he have the mustache? Or
he had a whole beard.
Oh, well, see? All right.
Yeah. Well, he's also auditioning for the W.B. Mason Man.
That's right.
Live action.
I'll tell you, Billy, Mickey Mantle, one of your favorites. My favorite was Keith Hernandez growing up.
Sure.
So I picked up my daughter yesterday at John F. K., and she's been gone for 3 weeks in camp. I take her to Citi Field. We get great seats, and we just sit there watching Keith Hernandez. And it was a ceremony. They finally, after 40 years,
they retired
number 17, and it did an incredible job, and it was so great to honor one of my heroes.
Sure, great player,
and
amazing defensive player, great hitter. Why did it take 40 years?
That's a good question. Michael should know that.
I don't think the Wilpons were that keen on retiring numbers.
Right.
So I think Cohen looks like he's going to retire a lot of numbers. David Wright will probably be next.
Sure.
And then they have to make a decision. Do they forget what Doc and Darryl did after they were great and honor? So, I mean, it's going to be a tough call for those two. I think Gary Carter will probably get retired as well.
I mean, 20, 30 minutes before the game, it was sold out, not a seat open. And it's a great reminder. I mean, before and after, when Keith Hernandez got here, the whole franchise completely changed. And he's been there for 40 years. And probably Tom Seaver and Keith, probably the most favorite Mets of all time. What do you think, Michael?
Absolutely.
But Alex, what was it about him? I mean, at that point you were a shortstop, an amazing infielder, and you idolize a first baseman.
But I fell in love with him. You know, part of it is we had 3 teams back in the day in our little black and white in Miami. I was 9, 10 years old. We had the Cubs and WGN. We had America's team, TBS, but they weren't that good, the Braves. And the Mets were just up and coming. And they got Hernandez, they got Carter from the Expos. But Hernandez, first of all, I love the no batting gloves, no wristbands. I love the high socks, beautiful looking guy. You couldn't take your eyes off him. He played first base like a shortstop.
Yeah.
No one better at the bunt. I love Kiner and McCarver, the way they called his games.
Yeah.
And then there was just so much to like, and he hit third, and he hit every day. And he was a guy from San Francisco. He was also very smart. I was in love with Keith Hernandez and that whole Mets team.
Yeah. There's a great documentary that Jimmy Kimmel produced, actually, on the Mets.
Saw it 3 times.
Wasn't it great?
Loved it.
Great. It was really terrific.
Now, you live most of your life out in L.A.
Now, yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Did you become a quasi-Dodger fan?
No, I mean, I in the beginning I did. 77, 78, 79, those teams, and you know, I was still playing in baseball leagues out there, and Tommy Lasorda, bless his soul, would let me come out and work out with the Dodgers. Like during the week, I'd come out he said, get here at 3. So I'd get there at 3, and I would take infield with the guys and became friendly with them. And this has a really lovely ending, which happened yesterday. I got to know Reggie Smith very well. So when I directed 61, I called Reggie and hired him as our technical advisor because he was a great switch hitter. And he played against Roger and Mickey. And he taught our 2 actors, Barry Pepper and Tom Jane, how to swing, how to be these guys. And then when the thing got approved for me to have my Yankee at bat, which had to go up all the way through Bud Selig, I called Reggie and said, I got 3 weeks. I don't want to be embarrassed. What can you do? And he said, get over here. So he has this beautiful little hitting academy in Encino, California, behind all these little league fields where the kids' numbers are in their pants, you know, because they're just everything's too big. And he got me, you know, he worked on my swing, he and his wonderful son, and he brought in some pitchers from college. And now they're throwing me 80, 85 straight fastballs. He said, just get your timing down and just don't be him, you won't be. So it was he was thrilling. I have 2 grandsons in L.A. They're really promising young players. One's 12 and one's 9. And the 9-year-old I call Dustin Pedroia because that's who he is. He's a tough little guy. He plays second base, and he's got a beautiful little swing. And Hudson he's big lefty, and he's really good. He's got it.
Right.
When he pitches, the ball comes out of his hands. You go, that's different than somebody else. So we arranged for Reggie to work with him, and they worked with him yesterday. And he's going to keep, you know, giving them lessons and tips and stuff. So to see them in the cage with the great Reggie Smith, adjusting their head, you know, don't turn your head, teaching what their dominant eye is.
Wow.
You know, that was like the greatest.
And for you to love baseball, and your grandsons obviously you have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So to have your grandsons love the game, it must be such a kick.
Oh, yeah, but the girls did too. I mean, Jenny played Pat Maris in 61, and Lindsay was one of the editors on 61. And so it's, you know, it's something we've always loved. And when I played in those Hollywood Stars game, they were always there. And that's where the greatest compliment I've ever gotten was by Reggie Smith. So the Hollywood Stars used to play a baseball game. The actors and other celebrities would play the press right before a Dodger game. Always sold out, and you played at least 3 innings. So I was doing soap at the time, and I was still playing pretty seriously. So I'm playing shortstop in Dodger Stadium, that beautiful infield, and a guy hits a ball up the middle, and I go to my left, it hits something, goes back this way, and I caught it going this way behind me, spun and threw it to Kareem, who's playing first base,
Wow.
and I call him out. And that was the 3rd out of the inning. I come in, and Reggie's there in his uniform because they're going to play after, and he looks at me and he goes, Major League play.
Wow.
And that's, to me, that was the greatest thing. It was not like, hey, great show. It was like Major League play. That was Reggie Smith for me.
Now, here is Jose Trevino. This is one of the great stories in baseball. Yankees got him right before the season began when Ben Rortvedt was hurt. And he just got named to the American League All-Star team.
It's great.
It's such a cool story.
Yep.
A great pickup by the Yankee front office, and he's been great.
And look at him.
And
there he goes. Into the corner.
Whoop. Oh, nice play off the wall. No.
Oh, he's out.
He gets thrown out trying for 2. A run does score. And moving to third is Hicks. 3-0 Yanks.
All right, so Alex, if you're going to blame anybody, who do you blame?
Well,
First
you never-
base coach? Did you not be able to see enough?
No, I think you have enough. Once you're turning first base, you have enough of a view. You said it best. Verdugo made the bare hand play.
He sure did.
You just stay chill there. You never want to make the first out at second or third base.
Right.
And especially now you have some momentum 3-0.
You see how it came off
Great
the wall
play.
right into his bare hand?
And the minute you see that, Billy, you just press the brakes and make a U-turn.
Yep. And Bogarts knew exactly what was happening. And that's about communication, because I'm sure the second baseman said, coming.
It's communication, but it's also Bogart's internal clock. He knows when the minute he barehanded, and in his mind he's going, second base is hot because Trevino can't run.
Underrated, Bogarts?
Fantastically underrated.
Yeah, I think so.
He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. He has the right to opt out of his contract. And there's some doubt whether or not the Red Sox will sign him. They could just move Trevor Story over to short. Red Sox bring the infield in for IKF. Runner at third base, 1 man out. Up the middle.
Huge.
And through for a base hit. And it is 4-0 Yankees as they have hit Pivetta pretty hard.
They are demoralizing to teams because it's 1 through 9, and they pound.
And it's not a swing and miss team, right? The Yankees in the last few years were getting into a little bit of too much of the iPad, playing Nintendo, strikeout or home runs. Now they have a traditional team. They've chosen defense behind the plate. Rizzo's fantastic. Torres is exactly where he needs to be. They have a Gold Glove at short. Donaldson has been great at third. And, you know, it looks a little bit more like the late 90s team than it had the last few years.
Yeah, because you could tell, like, in the last couple of years, it was all about, as soon as all these, you know, statistics come in about how fast it comes off the bat and all that stuff, and swing planes, that guys were like, they looked like they were in those home run derby contests in softball. The swings changed. They weren't level, compact, short, powerful swings. They were all swinging like I call it the Nelson Cruz swing.
That's right.
Who has a beautiful swing, but it's a home run swing, right?
Well, we talked about Keith Hernandez, and he was opposite of that, right? He wanted to stay on top of the ball, contact guy, hit 10 home runs, drove in 100 runs, really efficient, 24-game winning RBIs one year. And the Yankees have gone back to getting baseball players. I remember when they had Brocious and Knobloch and Jeter and Raines. Now, you don't know who a lot of these guys are. They're just really good.
Yeah.
Do you like baseball the way it's played now, with all the analytics and swing and miss? And
No.
You don't?
No. I don't know. I mean, it's too much chatter and too much made out of, boy, it's nice to see, oh, it left the bat at 110 miles an hour or whatever it is, but I don't.
You don't dig exit velo?
No.
No. And it's amazing, like, people say, well, what do you always say it on the games on? Yeah, well, it's sponsored. People are sponsoring exit velo.
Right.
And front offices are making decisions on exit velo.
I know.
1-2 on LeMahieu.
Some of the worst hitters I've ever seen in my life had the greatest exit velo. Some of the worst pitchers I've ever seen in my life threw the fastest.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not mutually exclusive, and you go back to guys like Maddox and Glavine and Pettit, Jeter, so many, Hernandez, that if they just played the exit velocity game, they wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. They wouldn't be getting their numbers retired.
Yeah.
You got to trust your eyes. And sometimes, Billy, you look at a player, and he walked into the Yankee clubhouse, and if we're 3 veterans, we look at him, we go, a week. Billy says, 2 weeks. He goes, you guys are drunk, 5 days, and usually one of us is right. And we haven't seen them play. They're just walking in jeans. There's a feel. There's a pattern recognition. You see it in acting, Broadway.
Yep.
It can't just depend on iPads and numbers.
Yeah.
1-2 on LeMahieu. Runner at first base, 1 man out. 4-0 Yanks. Tap the other way. There's one, and that's all they'll get. Do you think, as a fan, that the Yankees will keep Judge?
Oh, they have to.
At what price?
They have to.
No matter what.
You're paying Cole $340 million. Mm-hmm. And this guy plays every day, and he's not impatient.
He loved your first pitch, I heard.
He did. I mean, he's the face of baseball right now.
He is.
And he's got a great demeanor about him. He says the right things. And, man, he's playing center field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And playing it great.
And Billy, New York proven, right? Again, let's take another numbers guy. Gallo, who hit 40-something home runs in Texas. He comes here and melts right under the sun of New York.
Yeah.
It's not a given that if Michael hits 40 home runs in Texas, he's going to do it in New York.
Yep.
This guy's New York proven. He's Madison Avenue worthy. And he's just a great, great human being.
Yeah.
So Alex wanted me to tell you this. The last Yankee to have 30 home runs before the All-Star break?
Was him.
Yeah. 2007.
He didn't do too bad.
No, he did all right.
Nah.
And before that, it was Roger Maris.
Right.
He had 33 before the All-Star break in 1961.
You know, it's like Mantle said once. He said, well, what would you be worth now? He said, well, I'd just walk into the office and say, hi, partner. I mean, that's what this, that's, how could you not pay him?
Did Mickey like Maris, or was he jealous of the fact that Maris broke the record?
No, he grew to respect him. And
Okay.
they became really great friends. And, that was part of the story, was that nobody knew at the time that they lived together. And Mantle had told me all of these stories. So when I got involved with the screenplay, I said, that's the heart of this thing. The chase is one thing, that's great. But the fact is, it became about two teammates who became sort of opponents who later became great friends.
Landis Sims, great story. We'll talk about that when we get back. This is incredible, people. All right, we go to the bottom of the second inning at Fenway Park, and the Yankees lead the Red Sox by a score of 4-0. The Yankees trying to take 3 out of 4 against their arch rivals and expand their lead to 16 games in the American League East. So Jameson Taillon enjoying a 4-run advantage, and we're going to talk to one of the most remarkable people that you will ever meet, and that is Landis Sims. He's 16 years old, and he's from Elizabeth, New Jersey. And Landis was born limb deficient, missing his hands and lower legs. And Landis, we welcome you to the KayRod Show. Despite what some people would look at as a disadvantage, you have grown to love baseball and you play it. Please tell us how this happens, Landis.
Yeah, thanks for having me. The biggest thing for me throughout the years and, becoming the player that I am today has been, some of the mentors that I've had, like Alex and Joe Musgrove with the Padres has been pretty big. But a lot of the other stuff is just the equipment that I get, through CAF and OSER that have really helped me out over the years to get me equipment that I need to be able to perform.
Now, a lot of people have doubted you, Landis, and your motto throughout everything, when they tell you can't do it, what do you tell them?
You just got to watch me.
Now, Alex, do you remember working with Landis?
I do. He came. He made a great impression. There we go, right there. We had a fantastic, fun time showing you the muscles that I used to have. Landis, I remember what a great time. We had some great conversations. I really admired the way you went after it. What do you remember about that time with us?
Some of the advice you gave me about, how hard you have to work to be able to play at a level you want to play at. And, just the fun times we had, seeing you work out, seeing you stretch, take BP, getting to take BP with you guys, at that level was pretty huge. So, yeah, it was a fun day.
Now, it's not just baseball, Landis. You also have played basketball since you're 3 and baseball since you're 4. Do you know where this mindset comes from, that nothing will deter you from what you want to do?
I think part of it's just, my family's kind of always pushed me to do what I want to do. And, I have fun playing sports, so they've always been there and kind of supported me and helped me get to the point that I'm at.
Now, the Yankees every single year, I'm sure you all know, those that are viewing around the country, they have something called Hope Week, 1 week a year. And it's one of the most phenomenal things they do because you could see what a baseball team and players could mean to a community. And they highlight stories such as Landis's. Landis is throwing out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium. And it's an amazing thing. And that starts this week when the Cincinnati Reds come to town. And Alex, I know you were part of it when we were there. Yeah. The players just sign up. It's not like you force them to do it.
Jason Zilla, who was the PR guy there for many, many years, came up with this concept, and it became one of the most team-gathering things that we've enjoyed. And you're right, no one has to be pulled. Everybody raises their hand and volunteers. Some players do even couple different ones. And Landis, I just remember, I'm so proud of you, the way you've grown up. I knew you were going to be good, and you're even better than what you said. So I'm continuing to watch you and continue to be proud of your journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, what do you want to do when you grow up, Landis? Because obviously there are no barriers for you. What's your dream?
I'd like to be in Aaron Boone's position, managing in the MLB.
Very cool.
Hey, Landis, who's your favorite team?
The Yankees are definitely my favorite.
And favorite player?
Well, favorite player all around is probably Musgrove. The way he's kind of taken me in over the last couple years. But favorite Yankee player is probably Clark Schmidt, since that's the guy, I announced 5 years ago at his draft day.
That's great.
So, Landis, you and Derek Jeter have a documentary coming out in these weeks. My question is, are you going to watch Derek's? And I've been texting with Derek. I'm going to ask Derek if he's going to watch yours.
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch it. It's super exciting to, get to see that.
Well, Landis, we thank you for coming on, sharing your story. Again, Yankees Hope Week begins this coming week when the Yankees return to the stadium. Yours is an unbelievable story. You have so much to be proud of, and you're an inspiration for so many people. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you.
Billy, you'd have to say that's a movie.
Yeah, well, that's a hero, too.
Amazing. No, and, I mean, the movie's written. Just watch me.
I love that.
Yeah.
What an answer.
Yeah, nothing deters him.
What an inspiration. Billy, I'm wondering, you've been a star for a really long time. I've been a huge fan. You saw my daughters here, Natasha, in the break. Huge fan of yours, and we're going to watch your show. Especially if you can get me some tickets. No, I'm just kidding. Billy, but I know I was doubted tremendously. Michael was doubted. Was there any naysayers, or were you just a star from the time you were born?
Oh, no. There was. You never know, you know, what's going to happen. And, you know, you just have to believe in yourself and every day try to make yourself better. You know, I'm at this age doing this show. Every show, I try to do something else different.
Wow.
And if it happens, it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But it'll just be instinctual. I'll find a moment in a scene with another actor, and I just go for it. So
wow.
I just have learned to believe in myself, and I've had a lot of ups and downs. You know, movies didn't work, or this didn't work, or that, and you just have to love that you had a good experience doing it, find the valuable thing in it, but also don't let it stop you, and don't let anyone else say you can't do it.
I'm wondering, when you do a Broadway show, or when you host the Oscars, is the crowd and the reaction a reward for what you're doing, or is it something you crave? Do you need it?
Oh, of course you need it. Yeah, I mean, you know, especially if you're telling humor and telling jokes, you need that buzz from that, and you need that acceptance, and you need the rhythm of what they're going to give you, and that they're with you. And then that just builds your confidence up, and then you're working in waves, and there's something that's thrilling. Like today, we had a spectacular audience, and then the other day we had the same amount of people, and they weren't responsive. And I said to our cast and intermission, keep working. We'll get them. They'll be there.
Really?
Because then you wonder, Michael, you go, all right, how does this happen? It's a phenomenon, because I've been in front of people for 40-something years. Do 1,100 people call each other and say, let's not respond.
That's true.
Let's see what they do. And let's just not, I don't know how that happens.
Audience is winnable, though?
Yeah.
You can turn them?
Oh, yeah. But still, it's hard. And sometimes you don't. It's just, I don't know what that phenomenon is.
Billy, the same is true in sports. I mean, energy is contagious. And sometimes you go into the Bronx, and we would have 55,000 people in the old stadium, and it was a quiet 55.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, 2 nights later, you have the same crowd, and you can just tell by the time we come out to stretch, there's going to be a little bit of ruckus. They're going to be excited.
Yeah. No, I hear it, but, you know, I'm behind the opening curtain, and I'm about to make my entrance, and I like to come out about 10 minutes early, and I do the stretching stuff, and get ready and talk with the other cast members. We have a little team meeting before we go out, the 8 of us. And I can hear the buzz. And that has not changed for me since I did my first play when I was like in 3rd grade. When I'd be behind the curtain and I'd peek out to see where my parents were, and then you could hear them talking. There was something exciting, and I couldn't wait to get out there. That has never changed for me.
That's awesome.
You know, and I have a routine that I do before I go out. I have a gym underneath underneath the stage where all the equipment is and everything. I have like a 150 square foot gym, and I have just a few pieces of equipment. If it's a 7 o'clock start, I'm there at 5. If it's an 8, I'm there at 6.
More lifting or cardio?
A bit cardio. I'm on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I have a stretch cage. Called True Stretch. It's great.
Love those.
So you can get in all different kinds of positions, and you don't need somebody to stretch you. And just some bands. I do a lot of band work and some light weights, really just for my chest. I'll do some flies. And then I get on a treadmill with an incline, and I'll do my vocalization while I'm walking.
Wow.
So I breathe, and I get my lungs ready to sing, because I have 9 songs in the show.
Wow.
And I don't stand still when I sing them.
Now,
I'm all over the place.
There are people that are coming to the shows that are famous. If there's a famous person in the audience, does it ever get you nervous? Who would get you nervous if you heard was in the audience?
Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, right. Because, that'd be really nervous.
Where am
I? When I did 700 Sundays, it seemed like, and I'll show you sometime, the pictures of the people who came to the show. Everyone from Henry Kissinger to Letterman to Derek to Bobby Knight to Pat Riley same night to President Clinton to Warren Beatty. It was on and on and on and on. The only time I was nervous was when I heard that Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner were in the audience. Gone.
Wow.
See, this has been happening.
Wow.
This is why you said to me, you love, and I'm a little nervous lately because Taillon's been not as sharp as he has been for the first 8 starts or so. But it was Mel Brooks, because those are the guys who, when I grew up and were the pioneers of television comedy, because, you know, in the early 50s, television was the Wild West, and it was the comedians who settled it. You know, it was Sid Caesar, it was, and Carl, and was on the show, and Mel was one of the writers, along with Neil Simon, Woody Allen, the writing staff. So when I knew that Mel was there, and we had become friends, but now he was watching me work, and I was a little buzzy that night. Of course.
And did he say anything to you afterward?
He said the most amazing thing to me when he came backstage afterwards. He said, first thing he said, "Sid has got to see this. Sid has got to," and that was my hero, was Sid Caesar.
Right.
And Sid was in California. But the first thought he had was Sid, and that was like, it was like, Mantle should watch you throw.
Wow.
You know? And then when we took the show on tour, and we were closing in LA, Sid Caesar came. And we had a special seat for him to come. He was in a wheelchair then. And I knew he was there. And we had changed places.
Right.
He was watching me work.
Wow.
And when we met backstage, and he had a tear in his eye, and he hugged me, and he said, "That was special."
Wow.
That was it for me.
Wow. Well, that's a great time to break on that one. Wow. Just amazing. I'm getting chills thinking about it. So a 2-run home run by Cordero. Yankees lead 4-2. We're coming back on KayRod for the 3rd inning. Welcome back to KayRod Cast. We're coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. And we are so honored that Billy Crystal, after a full day of work, Mr. Saturday Night on Broadway, joining us for the first couple of innings here. Yankees and the Red Sox. And the Yankees lead by a score of 4-2. Taillon does give up the 2-run home run to Franchi Cordero. I believe that's the first Franchi in the history of baseball, Billy.
Holy cow, maybe. I don't know.
Now, you know that Phil would love Anthony Rizzo.
Oh, sure.
He just loved him. And there's another great story. Nestor Cortez was named to the American League All-Star team today.
Isn't that great?
That's one of the great stories of the year.
Look at that smile on this guy. And he's such a crafty pitcher. You know, he reminds me, he's got stuff like, you know, there's Whitey, there's that kind of guile about him, you know, and he's this crafty guy. And what a great story. And then I love that he's a regular-looking guy. Yeah. He's not one of these big, strapping guys like, well, every pitcher's huge now. He's like a normal guy, you know, and it's
Fernando Valenzuela back in the day, lefty also.
Yeah, yeah.
But 36-round draft pick.
And I love it. He's a normal guy, like Billy says, but he's also has pitchability.
Yes.
And he throws 90, 84, 82, never throws the same pitch, never the same angle. A little bit David Cohn in the latter part of his career from the left side. And it's creativity. I always want pitchers, not rock throwers.
Yeah.
I always want hitters, not golf guys that can just hit a ball a mile.
And then he comes, he'll do that sidestep.
Yes.
And he's just crafty. And you know, who's, you know, just you pull for him because he's not an overpowering guy that's going to knock you out at 99 miles an hour. He's a really good pitcher.
Now, you became very good friends with Joe Torre.
Yes.
And did it happen were you friends with Joe before you got the job in '96?
No.
So you just through the Yankee connection?
It actually happened. We had met once before when he was announcing for the Angels. Mm-hmm. And then when he got the job, that was '96, and that was when Mickey passed away. And Mr. Steinbrenner called me. I was in Reno. Whoop. Holy cow, there it is. Oh, wow.
Jackie Bradley, some outfielder, almost caught that over his shoulder.
That was like that Dewey Evans catch in Game 5, right, against the Reds.
Yep.
Made that catch.
They had a little top spin.
Yeah, so Mr. Steinbrenner called me in Reno. I was working on a film called Father's Day with Robin Williams that the Mantle family had wanted me to speak at Mickey Mantle Day when they unveiled the monument. Mm-hmm. I said, me? He said, yes, they want you to speak. And he said Mickey would have wanted that. Mm. So I flew in and
George Steinbrenner asked you himself?
Yeah, for the Mantle family, David and Danny and Merlin. And so I flew in and so now how do you got to speak at home plate, and you know, so they were playing the A's, and I made my speech, and then when I came off, Joe was there, and he said, that was a great speech. How do I reach you? So we started talking, and then we became sort of inseparable on the phone. Were you a superstitious player?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a superstitious actor. And when I played high school ball, if I got a hit, I wore the same socks.
Yep.
You know, so all of that stuff. In the same show, I'll wear the same thing. I'll do the same thing in my dressing room before I go. All of that. So Joe and I got into this thing, and you'll ask him. He once called me and they won. I said, I'm eating. And I said, look, we eat, we win. And then that became a thing. He'd call me before a game, are you eating? I said, no. He said, well, get something. So I'd pick up a cracker. I said, I got something. He goes, put it in your mouth and eat. He goes, we eat, we win. And then they would win. This went all the way through the 96 World Series against the Braves. He said, I'm in a restaurant with brochures. He said, oh, okay. He said, I'm eating. Do you have anything? I'll get something. So he put brochures on the phone. He goes, are you eating? I said, yeah, okay, we eat, we win. And then it took us through the whole season.
That's awesome.
And since then, we've been the best of friends. And he's a very dear man. His wonderful wife, Allie, and I do work for his Safe at Home Foundation. And he's just he's such a good man.
Now, you mentioned Mantle was your idol.
Yeah.
Now, there are obviously a lot of great Yankees before and after. Did you ever get to meet anybody that you really liked that wasn't on the level of Mantle? Did you ever get to meet DiMaggio?
Yes. This is that same moment.
Wow.
Wow, he knocked down Bogarts with exit velo.
Wow. Yeah, it was not a pleasant story.
Okay.
And I think you know the story.
No, I don't think I've heard this. Yeah.
So I'm at home plate. I make my speech about Mickey, and wow, I ended by throwing it to a film package of Mantle on the big scoreboard. Mm-hmm. So while the package is playing, Bobby Mercer, who was an amazing man, came up to me and said, listen, while you're there, when the package is over, introduce DiMaggio. He's in the dugout. So I said, oh, okay. So I look in the dugout, and there he is. He's just DiMaggio. So I said, okay. So the film package ends, big screams from the crowd. I said, now, ladies and gentlemen, number 5, the great Joe DiMaggio. Oh. So he walks out, and he's just mad. He looks mad. And he walks out, I shake his hand, and he says, I'm not speaking. I said, okay. He said, what do I do? I said, well, keep waving, go to the end of the line.
Oh.
So we come off the field. I meet Joe, and so we go to the clubhouse. I'm talking to these guys, and so on and so forth. And the door opens. Joe comes out and looks at me and punches me in the stomach.
Oh my God.
Punches me.
DiMaggio.
Yeah. I wasn't ready, and I'm like, can't breathe. And he gets in my face, and he goes, world's greatest living player.
Wow.
And I went, what? And then he leaves, and he was furious. And one of the bodyguards said, and he's laughing, "You're supposed to say he's the world's greatest living player." And I said, "I didn't know." And plus I thought it was Willie Mays.
Oh my God.
So now when they take me up to this Steinbrenner's box up there, which I'd never been in before.
Right.
And they open the door for me, and this George is like laughing. He goes, "Boy, you really stepped in it." I said, "I didn't know. Nobody told me before." I said, "Where is he? I want to apologize." He goes, "He left. He was so mad he left."
Oh my goodness.
No, it was not good. It was not good. And later we became, a little friendly, and he felt badly about it. But yeah, that was the first.
I had never heard that.
Oh,
story.
really? Oh, yeah. It was not good.
An amazing story.
Yeah. Greatest living player, right in my face.
How about after, to follow up on Kay's question?
Yeah.
After your guy Mickey, no one like Mickey, any more contemporary players that you kind of fell in love with the way they played or their style?
Derek,
yeah.
Bernie.
Yeah.
You. There were so many that were so great. And as a matter of fact, Bucky Dent was at the show the other night.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was great to see him.
He's coming on later.
Yeah. And I always, when I ever see him, I just go deep to left. And there was Chris Chambliss was a wonderful gentleman, and I became very friendly with Yogi. And I saw his documentary that his wonderful granddaughter Lindsay produced. Have you seen it?
No, I heard it's great.
It's really terrific. And I had so many wonderful times with him, and it was just it's amazing to get to meet them. And when I was in Tampa with you guys, they were on the bench.
Yeah.
And there they are, and Ron Guidry was such an amazing guy and a wonderful person, and I've just been blessed to get a chance to know these guys.
You know what I've always been kind of amazed at is that it seems like entertainers want to be baseball players and baseball players want to be entertainers. They want to be actors or comedians or singers. It's weird.
Alex, do you want to?
No. But I have no talent, right?
You don't want to be an actor, like win an Oscar?
I can't sing, I can't, none of that. No, I don't. But I admire them.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And the affection that they have and the respect that these players had for who they played with and really where they played, too. We're shooting 61. It's the day before we're going to start the shooting. We're in Tiger Stadium, which was abandoned then because the Tigers moved into the new place. So we had this amazing ballpark that we converted into Yankee Stadium. A beautiful, amazing set design job to turn that place into the stadium with the monuments and everything looked right. And as a surprise to the team, I invited Yogi to come the day before, and also the Mantle boys, David and Danny, and Merlin, Mickey's widow. So Yogi comes through the right field area, and he's got his little travel case, and he's waddling towards us, and I greet him, and he looks out, and he gets teary.
Really?
And he says, the first thing he says is, "The monument should be about 10 feet to the right." They weren't there. They was about 10 feet to the right. They were just off just a little bit. I looked at them for a long time. They were off to the right. And then we're standing
sounds just
there.
like him.
Yeah. And he says, I hit one on the roof here. And I'm looking at him, and he's now this big. And and I told Mel I was going to do it too. Mel was right up there, and the press box
Right,
was
very
right
close.
above, right?
Yep.
It was very close.
You had to wear a glove.
Yeah. And he said, and I looked up and I went, "Mel, I'm going on the roof. Going on the roof." And I hit one on the roof. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
So in that stadium, Detroit, I actually loved hitting there. I hated the new stadium to hit in.
Yeah.
Even though it's beautiful. I can hear guys like Michael in the booth while I was in the batter's box.
Yeah.
It was so close.
Look at Matt Carpenter.
Look at
Did
this.
he do it again? Did he do it again?
He did it again.
See ya. Wow.
On an 0-2 pitch.
A 2-run home run.
They demoralize you. They just pound you. Sorry, Alex. Not you, man. Wow, what a story this is.
It's really one of the great stories in baseball this year.
Really is.
He went on this almost nomadic mission
Yeah.
to try to find his swing again. He had lost it. He had lost the ability to hit. He found it.
It was 0-2 fastball. Runner was going, gets on top of it, and a bomb. That's a long ways at Fenway Park.
Now, Alex, that looked like a high slider, right?
No, it was a fastball.
It was a fastball?
Yeah.
Right? But it was up.
It was up.
I got that part right.
And too good of a pitch, 0-2.
Yeah, boy, right down the middle.
52% of the Yankee runs this year have come via the home run,
Yeah.
which is the most of any team in baseball. And the thing about this team, too, they really like each other and they're having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they all pull for each other.
It seems that. And, you know, as Alex knows more than me, there's stuff that you don't forget from the past years of things that happened.
Absolutely.
And I remember a playoff game, I think they beat the Yankees 16-5 or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Cora said something that wasn't too kind. And they don't forget that.
Never.
Never.
And the other day, they were up 9-2 or something and they're stealing bases. Wow. And I thought, oh, is that a little bit of a payback, you know?
Well, that will do it. Now, we have Bucky, you can say deep to left, right to his face. Bucky Dent and Mike Torres will join us in just a moment when we return right here on KayRod. We go back to October 2nd, 1978. Billy Crystal playing the role of Bill White.
Deep to left.
Yastrzemski.
And it's a home run.
What a game. And those that were there said the stadium got so funereally quiet, if I made that word up. And the Yankees went on to win, and they go to the World Series, and they beat the Dodgers. And where that happened is where those two men that were forever linked in baseball history are right now. Russell Earl, Bucky Dent, and Mike Torres. Hey, guys, how you doing?
We are doing great. Thank you. We're doing great. It's the first time we've been back to Fenway together in 44 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Now, Bucky, is there a day
back
goes
here
back
since 1982.
Is there a day that goes by in your life, Bucky, that you don't think about that home run or somebody doesn't bring it up?
No, not really. Somebody will talk about it, or, you know, I'll get some flashbacks when they do. And every time I come back here, you know, the first thing I look at is the wall when I come in here, you know, because it's just a great place to play, like Yankee Stadium. But the atmosphere of the crowd, the smell, you know, I mean, it brings back a lot of memories.
You know, Mike, one thing I've always noticed about you, and we've you know, spoken off the field as well, I don't know if anybody has ever handled this better than a guy like you. You're very secure in your career. Was it something that stayed with you for a while, that you finally gave up, or were you okay with it right when it happened?
Well, no, I mean, we're professionals, and then I wanted to beat the Yankees, and you want to do the best job you can, and I pitched a hell of a game. I had a 2-0 lead when Bucky hit that home run, and like I told Bucky got lucky, but he used that wall to his perfection. And but no, I have no regrets because I pitched my heart out for that game, and we had our chances to win. Even in the late innings, in the ninth inning, when Yastrzemski came up with the bases loaded. And, that's part of baseball. You got to take the good with the bad. And that particular day, I was a loser. But Bucky and I, being that I gave up that home run, we've been friends ever since. And we've done a lot of appearances together. And we've been friends many years now.
I want to say this guy has been a class act all the way. People forget he was with us in '77. He was one of the reasons we won. He pitched some great baseball down the stretch for us, and we were competitive. After '78 because he was still in Boston, I was still in New York, and stuff like that. But when it was all said and done, we've been really, really good friends, and like you said, we've done a lot of things together, and I really admire this guy. I mean, he's a heck of a friend.
Because Mike, actually, you caught the last out of the World Series, right? On a bunt. Am I right?
Yeah,
I was Lee Lacy tried to bunt on me. And
I was standing at shortstop, and Lacy was hitting, and I'm standing there, and I remember from '76 what happened with Chambliss, and I'm going, am I going to run for my life, or am I going to go jump on Mike if he gets this guy out? And so when Lacy popped the ball up, I started to run to the mound to jump on him, and there was 10,000 people already beat me to it, so I just ran for my life to the dugout.
Hey, Bucky, the pitch before the home run, you fouled it off your foot, right? And
he threw a sinker down and in.
And so, did it hurt when you were rounding the bases, or you didn't feel a thing?
Oh, I didn't feel a thing. I was flying, and back then we didn't flip our bats and do all that kind of stuff, because I hit the ball on the line. I really didn't know if it was going to get out, so I was kind of running hard to get to second base, for a double, and I didn't really know it had gone out until I rounded first base, and the umpire signaled, and I saw Yastrzemski was buckled at the wall.
Yeah, he went to his knees.
I knew it was a home run.
But speaking of bats, it wasn't your bat that you hit the home run with, right?
No, it was my homies. I've been struggling going into that series, and I was standing at the cage, and I said, hey, homie, let me use your bat. I says, let me try it. And it says, go ahead. So I started hitting it, started feeling good, and then I swung and hit a ball, and it cracked it right under the tape. So when I fouled the ball off my leg, I didn't wear my guard that day. I went to the on-deck circle, and Mike didn't throw any warm-up pitches, and I took a little bit longer because it was hurting. And as I was standing there, he goes, hey, homie, you got the wrong bat. And I started back.
No, you didn't get the wrong bat. You got the right bat.
I got the right bat. He gave me the right bat, But, first pitch Mike threw a fastball down and in, and I hit it pretty good.
I got to tell you guys, we're talking to Bucky Dent, Mike Turrett, and Vasquez just hit a home run almost in the exact spot where you hit your home run, Bucky. It's almost like the ghosts are talking to us.
It is. The ghost is talking tonight, man. The only problem is they had a net up there. They didn't have seats.
Now, for you, Bucky, unfortunately, in Boston, for the longest time, you got a middle initial that I'm Bucky F. Dent. Are you okay with that? Are they cool with you there?
Oh, I'm very proud of it. This is the town that gave me the name, and actually, Don Zimmer was the one. I heard the story that he was walking, or they were driving back, him and his wife Soot, and he stopped in the mountains out there and just screamed Bucky F. and Dent, and next thing I know, 40-something years later, that's my name.
Hey, Bucky, Mike, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Bucky, I had the great privilege, was my infielder coach when we were in Texas, and he taught me so much. I had my best defensive year in Texas. But Bucky, question for you is, I'm wondering if you ask Red Sox fans who's more popular, you or me?
Well, they didn't give you a middle initial, so I'd say me.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I played a long time. I beg to differ, but okay.
But you know what? It's unusual, Bucky, because the manager of the Yankees has the same middle name as you, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I was watching that game that night, yeah. I woke up and he's running around the bases, and I go, what happened? They said he hit a home run. I went, oh, my God, he's got a middle initial, too.
Well, Mike, did you think that Yastrzemski was going to get a hit with that last at bat against Goose Gossage?
Who? Yaz?
Yeah, the last out.
Is that what you said? Yeah. Well, we were hoping. I mean, I know that when I talked to Goose, after the home game or after we got together, Old Timers Day, he said I was scared stiff with Yaz coming up, and I was shaking. But Yaz was a great hitter. He's a Hall of Famer, and he took him, deep in the count, and he popped it up to Nettles to end the game. And I always say, hey, they blamed the Mexican, not the Polak here.
Nettles was yelling at Goose, pop it up, pop it up. When he popped it up, he goes, not to me. All right, so we're talking with Bucky Dent, Mike Torres. Here's Bucky's home run off Mike in the 1978 tiebreaker game and where it landed. All right, so there were no seats up there then. It settles into the netting. And here's Vasquez's home run. And it's pretty darn close to exactly where Bucky's left, to the left of that light stanchion. Yeah. Amazing. Now, before we let you go, I just want to say, and I want to get confirmation on this, on the regular Sunday night broadcast, Mike, David Cohn saw that we were talking to you guys, and he said, I bet you Mike Torres wants to reach over and punch Bucky right in the face. Is David right?
Well, listen, I paid Mickey Rivers a lot of money to tell me that it was a cork bat that he used ultimately.
Yeah, right.
Hey, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being gracious and coming on.
Thank you, guys.
We always have fun talking with you. Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
All right. In the fourth inning, Yankees lead 6-3. And Billy, I don't know how I could thank you enough. We've had such a blast, the two of us talking with you. And
it's been great fun. I'd love to do it again.
And the show is Mr. Saturday Night. And if you're in New York, or if you have the money to fly to New York, go see the show. It is so good.
Thank you. At the Nederlander Theater on 41st Street. So come. It's a great time to see us.
I will be coming. I can't wait, Billy.
Thank you, guys.
So good to see you.
Good to see you again.
All right, so we are in the fourth inning.
We got a ball game, Michael.
Yeah, I know.
Got a ball game.
All right. So Trevino, IKF, and DJ LeMahieu. And Trevino with an RBI single his last time up. Trevino got thrown out trying to go to second. Another ripped line drive, and it's a foul ball. I think, did that get the umpire?
That sure did, and it's fair ball.
That Jerry Lane.
Jerry Lane.
I got
Wow.
a fair ball. Fair. I haven't hit the line. I haven't hit the line. I got a fair ball. It's not
Looks like he got hit hard.
Yeah, Jerry said, you can hear him a little bit here. He says, I haven't been hit in a while, but that one got him solid.
Ooh.
Fair ball. Probably would have been a double. Instead, it's just a base hit.
Hit the chalk, and he just could not. It was like a heat-seeking missile. He could not get out of the way.
That ball was hooking.
Yeah. I think they're just giving him some time because he was hit square.
One of the great guys in baseball. And you know, Michael, I know that in the upcoming weeks we'll talk about the robots and electronic. You have personalities like Jerry Lane. There's such an important fabric of the game and the momentum of the game and the personality of the game. And we have to watch that we don't eliminate all of it. Anytime you eliminate jobs from humans, I'm going to be against it.
If they did go with a robotic umpire just on that little square that you see on our screen, would it benefit the pitchers or the hitters? Because I think it would benefit the hitters. If you called the legitimate strike zone, I think pitchers would have a hard time getting hitters out.
It doesn't matter because it'll destroy the game even more. And I'll tell you why. Michael, you imagine being at Yankee Stadium, day game, getaway, you go into Seattle, 14-2 Yankees are winning, and they're calling a ball like this, inch off the plate away, and all of a sudden a 4-hour game becomes a 6-hour game. But they did get it right. They did get it perfect. The game starts after strike one. You need a human there to police the tempo of the game. And by the way, when you're a rookie, your strike zone is this wide. When you're a 5-year player, is this wide. And if you're Wade Boggs or Ichiro or Tony Gwynn, is this wide. But you earned that over time, just like Jordan and Magic and Bird and LeBron earned that in their sport. And the computer doesn't know the difference between Michael Jordan and a rookie. Wade Boggs, who has eagle eye, he's earned the right to have a smaller strike zone. 17-inch plate for Wade Boggs, it felt like it was 14. For Greg Maddux, it felt like it was 22. They earned that. That's part of the game.
That one's deep to right field, and it's caught by Bradley. And Trevino heading back to first. Cordero could not come up with the throw. Almost doubled him up.
Great throw, great play, and a great throw. Reminds me a little bit of Dewey Evans back in the 70s. Going back to the track and throwing a ball right to the first base coaching box, and they did get a double play. Not this time here. Cordero comes up with this, he's out.
Yep, absolutely. Now, I want to push back on one thing.
Yeah, please.
I don't believe that a strike zone should be an artistic expression. It's 17 inches wide.
I disagree, Michael, because the thing is, Wade Boggs has shown for 15 years that he's got a great eye. And because of that, the art of that is you get rewarded with a very tight strike zone. Greg Maddux, who's got so many Cy Youngs, Roger Clemens, his strike zone should be a little different than a rock thrower that just came up from A-ball or double A.
But you think that's fair as a hitter, going against Greg Maddux, for him to have such a wide strike zone that you're trying to protect?
I'll tell you what, if the game is 10-1, it should be different than if the game is 1-1 in the 9th inning.
Okay.
100%, Mike, because if it's 10-1, we got to get on the plane. We got to move on. Remember, the quality, the fan is the one that suffers, right? You get this pitch, okay, you got it right. But I don't care if you're watching a great movie. If it's a 5-hour movie, nobody's coming to watch it. So you have, the number one responsibility is you got to have the cadence of the game to be a responsible one. Once you get strike one, the game gets going.
It's a base hit up the middle for LeMahieu. Moving to second is Trevino.
So you take a guy like Gary Carter, or you take, any Gold Glove catcher that's really good at framing. You take that art out of the game, because you can have a catcher like this, and he's just gonna catch. It doesn't matter where he catches. And the computer's gonna say. So baseball is more than just getting it perfect on the computer.
Well, Nick Pivetta knocked out of the game. And when we come back, we're going to talk to one of the great actors in our country, and that's David Duchovny. He's also a huge Yankee fan. We'll talk to him about all of that coming up on KayRod. So Caleb Ort making his first appearance of the season in relief of Nick Pivetta, as Red Sox are trying to keep it right here as the Yankees are leading this one by a score of 6-3. It's first and second, one man out. And as we move along here in the top of the fourth inning, we are joined by David Duchovny. He's a huge Yankee fan. And David, if you were just watching an inning ago, we were talking to Bucky Effin Dent, and that's a guy you're very familiar with.
Yes, I wrote a novel called Bucky Effin Dent, and I've never met Bucky. I wish that I could one day. I'd like to hand him the novel myself. But, you know, I was a fan growing up in the 60s in New York when the Yankees were pretty bad. And then I was a huge fan again when they got good in the 70s, and, of course, KayRod's teams as well.
So you grew up with the teams I grew up with, Horace Clarke and Celerino Sanchez and Jerry Kenney and those guys, right?
Danny Cater.
Yeah.
Roy White. Mel
Bobby Mercer.
Stottlemyre was my favorite player for a long time.
Judge with a fly ball.
Now, David, you have an undergrad degree from Princeton and a master's from Yale. You're way too smart for this show. Maybe not for Michael, but certainly for me. Who recently, in the last 15, 25 years, who are some of your favorite players that you've admired?
Oh, wow. Well, you know, I'm loving Aaron Judge. 15 years. You know what? It's weird being a baseball fan your whole life. It's almost like music. You get stuck with the guys that you grew up with.
Yeah.
That's my way of bailing on this question. You know, I'd be happy to talk about guys from 30, 40 years ago, but guys from 15 years ago, it all kind of blends together. But
all right, growing up, who were some of your favorites when you were a teenager back home?
Well, you know, not teenager, but before that, Mickey Mantle, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Juan Marichal, Mel Stottlemyre.
Yeah.
These guys.
Now, the novel Bucky Effin Dent, it's being made into a movie, right? What was the novel about, David?
Well, it's kind of a father-son story where the father is this diehard Red Sox fan who's convinced, even though he's got cancer, that he can't die until the Sox win it all. Because he was born in 1918, which is when they traded Babe Ruth to the Sox. So he's sure that his life is going to see the end of the curse, and he won't die until then. And it's the year when the Sox are doing great, and it looks like they're going to win. And his son starts to, eventually when the Sox start to slide a little bit and lose to the Yankees, his son starts faking the outcomes of the games for him because he wants to keep him healthy, because he notices every time the Sox lose, he takes a hit. So it's kind of a father-son love story, magical realist, baseball is life kind of story.
Well, we're having a couple of technical difficulties with David, so we're going to try to get him back on the line with a clearer line. So David will hang on there. Right now, 6-3 Yankees with runners on first and second. Top of the fourth inning with 2 outs, and Anthony Rizzo at the plate. And that one is fouled back.
And Michael, this is a huge game, especially for the Red Sox. If you're Alex Cora and you're the manager, you won a big game last night, or else you would have lost 3 in a row. But now, if you can come back from a 3-run deficit and leave with a split, you feel pretty good here and having the Yankees get out of town. But you lose 3 out of 4, now you go down 16.
You know, Alex, I don't think it's hyperbole to say if the Yankees win this game, the Red Sox have to almost just concentrate on their positioning in the wild card, as Rizzo is retired. So Ort comes up and does a good job to get out of problems. We go to the bottom of the fourth inning. Yankees 6, Red Sox 3. This is KayRod on ESPN2. We have David Duchovny back with us. Some of his great roles, Denise Bryson in Twin Peaks. Fox Mulder in The X-Files. Hank Moody in Californication. And David, you know, X-Files was Scully and Mulder, and that was Vince Scully and wasn't it Mike Mulder? Mark Mulder, right?
It wasn't Mark Mulder, but it was Vince Scully. Chris Carter, the creator of the show, grew up in L.A., huge Dodger fan, actually pitched in college, Chris did, and named Scully's character after Vince Scully. But Mulder was actually his mom's maiden name.
Oh, okay. Cool. Now, you are a regular, David, in the Rock and Jock games. Did you enjoy that? I think Alex played in those as well.
Yeah, I loved it. I don't think, Alex, I don't think we ever played together, did we? I'm not remembering.
No, I think we missed each other, but I think I saw you play a few times.
Yeah, I remember playing with Frank Thomas and Mike Piazza, and I think I got robbed of a home run by somebody by a pro. And I was like, couldn't you just let that one go over? Couldn't you just one time?
You know, we just had on Billy Crystal, and I asked him the same question. He loves baseball so much. He said he would give it all up to be a baseball player, despite the success he's had in entertainment. Same question for you, would you?
Absolutely. I played all through high school. I played a year in college. You know, that's what I wanted to do, other than that or basketball. And I had about as much chance going pro, both of them.
Now, you threw a first pitch at Dodger Stadium. Tell me about the nerves doing that. I think you threw it out to Russell Martin of the Dodgers, right?
I did. A lot of nerves because they like you to throw in front of the mound so that you don't scuff up the mound. They had a tarp over it, but I said, please let me throw from there because I'm used to that distance. I wasn't sure about being in front of the mound. So they let me. There I am. And after I threw it, Russell Martin said I had a nice arm, which was nice. I bet he
so
says
cool.
that to all the guys.
You know, people that have done that first pitch, they say there's more pressure doing that than what they do in their professional lives. Did you feel pressure? Because you were a ball player, so obviously you can do it, but did you feel pressure in Dodger Stadium?
Yeah, I felt pressure, but you know, throwing from that distance from a mound, it's such muscle memory, you know, in my life that I was pretty sure I could get one close enough. It wasn't a strike. It was a little tight. It was a little on the inside, the right-handed hitter. I wish I could have thrown one over the middle. But I feel pretty good about it.
6-3, 2-2 count on Verdugo, the hero of yesterday's game, and he fouls it away. What do you think of this year's Yankee team, David?
Amazing. I mean, the record is just phenomenal at this point. Earlier in the broadcast, we're talking about, you know, that they're healthy, you know, and that's part of the success. And you know, it's such an important part of the long season. So I'm just hoping that they stay healthy and they peak at the right time. But they're just playing amazing ball right now.
Grounded up the middle and threw for a base hit for Verdugo. You know, we were talking about the book being made into a movie, Bucky F. and Dent. Do you have the people that are going to star in it? When do you think this is going to be able to come out, David?
If I get to shoot it this year, which I'd like to, this summer, it would come out in about a year, maybe a little more. The funny thing is, when I wrote the novel, I had written the part, when I adapted it, I'd written the part for me to play as the son, but I got busy and I got older. And so now I'm playing the father. So once I cast the son, we'll be able to go, you know, and I can't wait. I mean, I really think it's a beautiful, heartwarming, funny, and sad story to tell.
Will it cross over where you'll be able to have Bucky Dent in the movie in some way, shape, or form?
If Major League Baseball allows me to use some footage, then yeah, I'll have Bucky Dent in it. But the actual Bucky, I don't know. I'd have to figure out how to get him in there. We have to meet first. I mean, I don't know if Bucky hates the book. I wish I knew. Just have him give me a call.
Well, you know what, David? Just so you know, this Bucky did star in the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader movie, so he's got some chops.
Well, and I know he comes through in the clutch too. I know he's a clutch player, so you know it's important for actors too. They got to be clutch.
Do you get to watch the Yankee games all the time out there?
Yeah, it's actually, you know, it's easier for me to watch here because everything's a little bit earlier, right? So right. Yeah, I get to watch a lot of Yankee games out here in LA. And I watch a lot of Dodger games too. I won't say I'm a Dodger fan, but I like to watch the game.
Can you imagine the Yankees if they don't sign Aaron Judge? Is that something that you could picture?
No, it seems like he's one of these guys that's going to be a Yankee for a long time. So can only hope that. But he's certainly worth a lot.
Well, David, we wish you good luck with the movie. It sounds like something that's going to be wonderful. It's heartfelt and built around a man with a middle name that we can't say on the show. But thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thanks, David.
I appreciate it. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you as well, David. There's a fly ball, and it's dropped by Hicks, but I believe they'll say it was on the transfer. What do you think on that one, Alex?
It's almost a moot point because either going to be the batter's going to be out or they're going to have a force at second. But that looked pretty close. Oh yeah, there's an out.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be a helpless feeling to drop the ball.
Oh. But that was a clear catch and transfer.
Well, that would be the second out. Yankees lead this one 6-3. There's Giancarlo Stanton. I wanted to ask you about this, Alex. So he's going to be one of the starting outfielders for the American League, and also said 2 days ago he is up for being in the home run derby. Does that surprise you? He's from LA, and he would like to be in the derby.
If Aaron Judge said it, it would really surprise me. Stanton, I think Stanton's a C-ball, hit ball, and the fact that he is coming back home, he wants to put in a big show in front of his friends and his family. More power to him. He's been fantastic.
Now, why would Judge?
Well, I know that Judge historically hasn't really liked it. I know he had a little bit of a shoulder issue, and but I mean, look, Aaron Judge in Hollywood in a home run derby would be fantastic. I just don't think he'll do it.
Now, you can get involved. Which Yankee or Red Sox player would you like to see in the home run derby? Just scan the QR code right there on your screen. Get your phone, hurry up and do it. And we'll give you the voting a little bit later on which Yankee or Red Sox player would you like to see in the derby. Is there a Red Sox player that you burn to see in the derby? I mean, J.D. Martinez not hitting home runs this year.
I think Devers. I mean, you saw Devers what he did to Cole a couple nights ago. Hit a slider in right center and then hit a changeup. I think it was a 3-2 changeup out to center field. He's always exciting. He's the mentee of Big Papi.
1-2 count on Cordero. Had a 2-run home run against Tyone in the second. Yankees lead this one 6-3, bottom of the fourth. And that'll do it as Cordero swings and misses. And a scoreless fourth inning for Tyone and the Yankees. No runs a hit, no errors, and one man left. Still so much more to come on KayRod, including Roger Clemens. Stay right here on ESPN2. Back here on KayRod, Fenway Park is the place. Opened up in 1912, still standing in 2022. And the Yankees trying to take 3 out of 4 from the Red Sox. And they will finish the first half of the season, these two teams, with 3 at Yankee Stadium, Friday, Saturday, and again Sunday night. We'll be back for another KayRod, and that game will be from the Bronx. Well, Aaron Judge is one of the starting outfielders in the American League, as is Giancarlo Stanton, and Stanton will lead off. It's interesting what you said, Alex. You don't worry about Stanton messing with the swing. There have been different stories about people that have participated in the home run derby where it did throw them off. Do you believe that or not?
I mean, not really. I think what's more concerning is so many swings in a short period of time. And I think for me, I participated in a bunch of them. It was more about lower back tightness for me, and just I usually played every game in the first half. So just getting a little bit of a blow and not doing it, that was why I wanted to opt out. But I don't think it messed with my swing. I know Bobby Abreu, for one, was one that hit a lot of home runs and then couldn't get his swing right, and then that was the reason why he never did one again.
I think David Wright also might have gotten hurt in a home run derby, but it didn't seem like it bothered Pete Alonso at all.
So, some guys love it.
Did you ever do a All-Star Game home run derby?
Yep, I did. I did probably about a handful.
Did you win any?
No, did I win? I was terrible. Good slider here. Swing and a miss. I was terrible, Michael. You know what happened with me? When you took that cage away from batting practice,
right?
It felt like a tweener. It wasn't a game, and it wasn't batting practice. I was like, what the heck is it? And I just never felt comfortable at all.
Now, do you swing as hard as you could swing, or you just try to put a regular swing on the ball?
For me, I was trying to get like, almost like in a driving range, just trying to hit the ball 400 feet, and wherever it went, it will go out. I wasn't trying to hit it swing harder, because you have to go so many rounds, you got to save your swings, and a good cadence. Just hit it solid, hit that ball in the nut, and let it go.
So many people look at the All-Star Game and go, wow, I cherish being in this. This is important for me. But then if you would inject them with truth serum, those 3 days off would mean a lot. Is it like a warring of the minds, or did you always want to go?
I went 14 times, Michael, and the 4 or 5 times that I didn't go, I was upset. I was pissed. I was hopeful. If somebody got hurt, I would say, call me. It was an honor to play in an All-Star Game. You got the greatest players in the world. You get to be in the clock room with guys like Rocket and Pettit and Jeter, and whoever tells you they don't want to go, get some truth serum there, because they're lying too.
Really?
Absolutely.
Do you get any rest, though?
I don't care about rest. I want to play in the All-Star Game. Like, I grew up watching Strawberry and Doc and White Cleat, and I dreamed of being in the All-Star Game. Why in the world would I not want to go to the All-Star Game? Like I said, one year we had Jeter, Garcia-Parr, we had all these guys that had great years, and I was left out. I was so bummed. I think it was Atlanta. I was depressed for 3 weeks.
Well, we have a video of Aaron Boone, the Yankee manager, telling the Yankees which players made the All-Star team. And listen to this, and we'll see how much they want to go or not. Here's Aaron Boone.
Well, the most dominant reliever in the sport gets to go to L.A. for the All-Star game.
Sweet.
Congratulations.
Awesome, dude. Appreciate it.
You gotta let all Hialeah know. They gotta go to L.A., brother. You are going to L.A. The legend of Nestor Cortez. There's a little break in the championship run next week. I think you should go to L.A. so you can be in the midsummer class.
Let's go.
Yeah. Hosey, you're an all-star.
That's awesome.
Come on. You got to. I mean, Michael, let me tell you something. There's a lot of things. You know, when you have a big game and you're not the interview of the game, especially on national big TV, Sunday Night Baseball, you're bummed. You want to show off in front of your friends and your family, everybody back home. And, you know, players try to act cool, including me. But at the end of the day, you want to be there when it counts, in the playoffs, in the World Series, in the All-Star games, Sunday Night Baseball. It means a lot.
Well, those are the guys that are going from these two teams: Cole, Holmes, and Cortez from the pitching staff, and then Stanton, Judge, and Trevino. And Trevino looked like he got very emotional there. And for the Red Sox, the left side of their infield's going to go Bogarts and Devers. That one's popped up by Donaldson.
Michael, my first All-Star game was 1996, and it was in Philadelphia, an old vet. And my hero growing up was Cal Ripken Jr. I posted about him today on my Instagram when I worked with Joe Torre to move him over to short on his last.
That was on this day.
Yeah, and Rocket was pitching, and he told Rocket, strike him out. And the first, here it is right here.
And Ripken had no idea you were going to do this.
No one knew. I got permission from Bud Selig first, their commissioner, then Torre, and everybody knew. Joe Buck knew, Tim McCarver knew in the broadcast, and he's like, what are you doing? Rocket's about to start pitching. And I said, get over there. You're playing short. The world wants to see you at short one more time. But going back to my first in 1996, I walk into that clubhouse, and my heart must have been beat like 150 miles. I mean, it was flying. And when I saw my hero across the way in the locker room, Cal Ripken Jr. First of all, he looked like he was 7'5". He's so tall. He had the piercing blue eyes. And he came over and he said my name. And I'm like, how does he know my name? I was 19, 20 years old. And he shook my hand and I almost melted. I didn't know what to say. And every year it was just that fun. None more special than that first one. But I love to hear from Rocky when we get him on, because it was a thrill to be on displaying the greatest game in the world for the best fans in the world.
That was a cool moment. That's a forever moment.
Yeah, for sure.
Pitch to Carpenter is low. Well, you know, let's bring in Roger Clemens, because he's the third part of that. He was actually on the mound, and it's the second time he's joined us on KayRod. We had such a blast the first time. Roger, do you remember what was going on behind you when Alex was switching with Ripken?
Yeah, I had an idea. I looked over there, took a quick look, and then I knew what was going down pretty quick. I looked over in the dugout. I thought Joe mentioned the same thing. So that was a really, like Alex said, that was a cool moment.
What did it mean to you to make an All-Star team? Was it a big deal, or would you rather have had the days off?
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's just really cool to see the other guys. You know, you're signing a bunch of stuff for everybody, and it's just a great time. My first one was obviously, I was pretty fortunate. I got to come home. I was a Red Sox, got to come home and pitch in the Astrodome, and you know, 20 minutes from the house. We got going on here. So I got to come home to Houston. Yeah, I got to come home to Houston. Ran out of tickets from everybody from high school to college buddies, and I think everybody else went out to Katy, Texas, and rented the only bar that had like a satellite dish, and the rest of them watched it there. So it was a great memory. It was three innings. I remember after the first inning, I think I was so either nervous or excited, I had a little nosebleed. So Gino, with the Yankees there, he was like my cut man, my corner man, fixed me up. What else do I remember? I remember the press conference with I got to meet Doc Gooden, and Doc and I talked a little bit, and both of us were throwing extremely hard, obviously. And after the press conference, we were underneath the stadium, and as we kind of broke to go our separate ways, Doc looked at me and said, hey, he goes, tomorrow, straight up. And I looked at him and I was like, you know, I haven't hit since, you know, I might have hit a fall ball in college or high school. and you know, now I'm going to hit in the All-Star game. And he goes, straight up, man. And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He goes, we face each other straight up. Let's throw each other fastballs. I said, you got it. I mean, I throw hard, you throw hard, let's do it.
Did it hit you?
So sweet move. Big Dave Winfield hit a double, I believe, in the seventh hole, the seventh spot hitting slot. Then Lou came up in the eighth, and Doc threw a pretty good curve, and Lou hit it in the second deck in the Astrodome, put me up 2-0. And then I climb in the box, and I remember it was great too. What I would tell all the young pitchers, I just talked about this when I talked to some of the pitchers the other day in the locker room about how it was so beneficial for me to go to the plate and see a 97-mile-an-hour fastball in the outside corner. When Doc threw it, I could hear it, and then when it got to the dirt, it kind of changed. It looked like it changed speeds, like it got, you know, it got faster somehow. But anyway, he threw it on the outside corner. To me, it looked like it was in the other batter's box, and the umpire said strike one or whatever. I looked back at the umpire, kind of laughing at him, and he said, no, the whole ball was on the plate. And I was like, there's no way. So, but it was, you know, I'll finish the story when we get back. There's still more to it.
All right, we'll come back. We'll hear the end of that. We have a lot more to talk to Roger about right here on KayRod. Bottom of the fifth inning, Yankees lead the Red Sox 6-3, final game of a 4-game set. Yankees have taken 2 of the first 3. KayRod broadcast live from the South Street Seaport District in New York City, and we're talking live from Texas with our good buddy Roger Clemens. So last we spoke with you, Roger, there's a fastball that you thought was in the outside batter's box. It was on the outside corner against Doc Gooden in the All-Star game. Pick it up from there.
Yeah, so I looked at the umpire. He said, hey, the whole ball was on the plate. And so it gave me a great perspective how you don't have to be so fine going that hard, But anyway, so fast forward, I think I fouled the next fastball off, and I was like, okay, I better get the bat started a little bit sooner. And next thing you know, here comes a fastball like right at my ear flap, and it was a curveball that broke over. And if you look at me, I look like I was riding a roller coaster, and because I thought it was coming right at me. And I just took a peek at him. Doc had his head down. Obviously, he forgot the straight-up business after Sweet Lou took him deep. And so I couldn't wait. I went 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, and I was going out for my 3rd inning of work. And I went through 2 of the guys, and I was like behind the mound. They were throwing the ball around. I could not wait for Doc to get in the batter's box because I said I'm going to throw 2 fastballs away, and I'm going to throw my little curveball right at his front shoulder, and we're going to have a little fun with this. And as soon as I turned around and got the ball, got up on the mound, I hear the PA announcer now batting, pinch hitting for Doc Gooden, Kevin Bass or something, and he's I didn't get to face him, but I remember that about my first All-Star game. It was a great deal of fun.
I'm sitting here with Alex talking with you, and I remember in 2000 that playoff game that you pitched against the Mariners, and just from the broadcast booth, that to me was one of the greatest games I've ever seen pitched in terms of a big game. Yeah. What did that mean to you? Did you feel that you were as locked in that day as any day?
And from the batter's box too.
Right.
Yeah. So my oldest son Kobe, really all 4 of my boys, anytime they see highlights of that game, they think that was the best game that I've thrown in my career. And, especially as Alex knows, the Mariners were on a tear like the Yankees are right now. I mean, it was somebody else every night that just puts pressure on you from the first hitter to the 9th hitter. There's no breaks. I mean, that was the difference that I noticed from the, when I did come to the National League with the Astros. You could throw a 2-seamer down and get away with it early to somebody in the National League. They're not going to hurt you. You might have somebody like Soriano in the American League leading off that's got 30 homers and 100 RBIs, and that's the way the Mariners lineup was. Yes. There was not a lot of easy outs, but that was one of those special nights. I had all 3 pitches working. Ball was alive. The weather was perfect. Legs never get tired from a pitcher, and. Both fastballs. My split finger was devastating, and I had a nice slider that night also. So that's what happens when you got it going on.
All right, so let's focus on the first at bat against Alex. Alex never stops talking about this, even off the air. Did you buzz the tower on purpose? Because we've got the Game 4 clip. Was that on purpose?
So let me just tell you this. That's a strike in the game now. That's strike 1. Look at him. So I'm not sure what Alex was looking for on the outside corner. I didn't know he wore contacts back then. Maybe his contact was over there, and he was out. You saw him out there looking for it.
I was snorkeling.
Yeah, you had your snorkeling mask on. You're exactly right. You had your snorkeling
I got to tell you, Roger,
on.
I faced you so many times, and you're right. Your 4 boys are exactly right. And Michael said he looked good from the booth. It looked incredible from the batter's box. I think I may have walked once, so I got a little lucky. But your fastball, it was exploding. And I saw it early in the game, and you were throwing the 4-seamer, a little bit of a 2-runner. You had a little slide, and the split was unhittable. And what was interesting, when you went to the big knee and you went boom, you were better in the 8th inning than you were in the 1st inning.
Yeah, well, it was a make or break game, really. Joe always threw me in some swing games there, but I think that after I had the strikeout and went down to did the little fist pump, I think some guys are on base, so the game was still intact right there. So, but it was just like I said, the Mariners were unbelievable that year. So we knew we had our hands full, and got going. And Mr. Splitty was alive too with everything else.
All right, so let's go into an at-bat between you and Alex. How would you approach it? And Alex, what would you be expecting? Roger, you go first. How would you approach an at-bat with Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to try and establish my fastball immediately away. Alex was still strong enough. I mean, watching him in Seattle as a young player, he was strong enough to hit balls when he would release that bat. He would still hit balls a long way, and obviously for homers. So I was careful with him. He was one of, he and Edgar, I think, were my two guys that I really had to keep an eye on, hitting in clutch situations. And Alex is no different than, like you alluded to earlier, Cal Ripken, or I tell the story famously about the first time I faced a Reggie Jackson. I might be sitting at 93, 94 miles an hour. Alex gets in the box. He's going to see 97. And it's going to be a controlled 97. There'll be times when I'm going to rear back. I threw over 100 a bunch of times, but I never pitched at that speed. So, that was, he was, they're going to, Alex Rodriguez, KayRod and Reggie and the guys like that, they're going to see a plus fastball.
All right, so what are you looking for, Alex, when you're facing Roger?
So what's interesting, I faced Roger when he was with the Red Sox early there, Toronto unhittable, and then New York, there's the Splitty right there. But Edgar Martinez would always prep me very, very well when we went up against Roger. And I would literally sit down. Look, Andy Pettit was a student and a mentee of Roger. I was a mentee of Edgar Martinez. Makes sense, right? You want to be with the best.
Yeah.
And he would always tell me, with Roger, he's never going to dodge you. He's going to come after you. Every at bat, you're going to get at least one good fastball, and you just can't miss it. So stay on top, right? It's got that little giddy up. And remember, just like Roger said, if he's throwing 94, when you and I come up, he's going to be at 98, and he's going to act that way. Right. So he said, you want to get him early in the count because he's always pitches ahead. He had all the data. And he said, with 2 strikes, he's going to do 2 things with you and I. He's going to elevate at 98. And if he's going to read your body language, he might repeat it up there, and then he's going to go to the splitting. And he might throw you 2 splitties in a row, but he usually will never throw 3 in a row. So he was just saying north and south, but get him early, especially if it's hard.
Now, you went to 98, Roger. Is that because of adrenaline, or did you save it for batters like Edgar and Alex?
Yeah, Michael, I had it, but again, when your velocity picks up, you make mistakes, and I've always said, major league hitters can put wood on a bullet, and velocity is the last thing I needed. So, but you get a little like that right there. Of course, my sister Florence could hit the ball out of right field at Yankee Stadium, and I don't have a sister named Florence. So, I mean, I think New Yankee
great
Stadium.
highlights of my career right there.
Yeah, that was like your 3000th one too. That was a scraper too. But that's all you have to do. You let the ball get deep. Like, where's this one going?
That's off the wall.
We have a ball game
Vasquez, yeah. A double and a run scored, 6-4.
Yeah. KayRod, Michael brought up, he said it perfectly, beautifully. I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, I'm going to give you one good pitch to hit, and if you foul it off or miss it, I'm hoping I get you. That should be the end of you right there. But there's a little slide ball. Green Monster.
When you pitched in Boston, did you get angry at the Green Monster? Is that something that impacted the way you pitched?
It really didn't. I mean, I tried to pitch to the middle of the field just like I did when I came home to pitch for the Astros at Minute Maid. The Crawford boxes are about the same distance and half the size of the Green Monster. So you can get burnt there too. You're just trying to keep the ball in the middle of the field and see what guys are doing. A lot of the guys that stood right on top of the plate, I could throw my tight slider, which everybody thought I was throwing a cutter late in my career, and I just agreed with the hitters that would say that. But all it was a tight slider. And I would throw at a right-handed hitter, and the best he could do would be pull it foul if I did leave it a little bit over the plate. But, Alex said it perfectly. That's kind of how we approached it. I mean, I listened to, I caught a little piece of when y'all had Billy Crystal on earlier, and he said the same thing about nowadays where guys are, the launch factor, it seems like it's all in play. I can tell you back in the mid to late 80s to early 90s to left-handed hitters, we'd almost get fined if I threw a two-seamer down and into lefty. Where's this one headed? Seemed like he hit it good. Oh, he did.
Oh.
Yeah, two-run home run, tie game.
Yeah.
J.D. Martinez.
Yeah.
That was hit a little better than your sister Florence.
That's hit a little bit better. You're right, Michael. The two things there. Jay, you talk about somebody that works extremely hard. We should have my oldest son, Kobe, in here because Kobe and JD, they played together. And anytime I rolled into town to watch the guys play, they had me over in a cage somewhere, anywhere around town, but usually at the ballpark at 2, 3 o'clock. And I was throwing batting practice to these guys till for an hour while they were working on stuff. Very, very technically sound and just working on how to get better each night. So I'm not surprised at the career this kid's had.
And Rocket, that's a huge home run for J.D. Martinez in more ways than one. That's his longest streak of not hitting a home run since 2014. 94 at-bats onto that home run, and he ties it, and we have a ball game.
Yeah, he was doing all right, I think, in the series, about 4 for 11 at the plate. So, I mean, he's not going to be quiet, just like Stanton. I was surprised, that they've held Stanton in check until, the first inning tonight.
Hey, Rocket, I want to ask you about one thing that I loved about you, playing against you, but more so playing with you on your team. And we got 2 strikes. If we end it, we can just keep it going, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things, if we had a 4-game series against the Blue Jays, and Rocket was pitching on Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you would not see Rocket. He would be a ghost. And you didn't see him in the weight room. He was there early. He was always doing his work, but he always kept that edge. Did you do that on purpose? And obviously it was helpful for you.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously had an edge to me. You see me when I'm not throwing, and now I'm doing this DJ stuff and having, find same thing I was doing in the locker room with the guys in between starts. But yeah, when the guys are out there, when we talk about, and you hear somebody like Tom Brady talk about laser focused, that's where we were at. We were laser focused. I didn't want to waste my time doing what I was doing. And man, I hated it. I obviously didn't like it when I went out there and I didn't perform well. I had a lot of people counting on me, mostly my teammates and the front office. So, but I was taught that by my mother and my grandmother. My pops, I think you guys know the story. My dad died when I was young. I was raised by 2 strong-willed women. And, my grandmother said it best. I mean, Granny said if you're going to be a ditch digger, be the best ditch digger in the country. And so, that's how you operate. But, yeah, I had a really, Rod, as you know, you watched it up close and personal. I had a routine that I could count on, the work that I had. Now, when I turned 36, 37, 38, and then on to pitch till I was, 45 years of age, it changed, especially this time of year when it's hot and stuff like it was here in Texas, whether I was running from Minute Maid Park down to the railroad track and back. I really didn't like to do my poles and stuff and run in front of the fans or when the gates opened up in a visiting ballpark. I like to go after, as soon as BP ended, go get my running stuff on and go find a trail a couple miles away from the stadium if I could. And but yeah, I mean, it was a great routine. Doc Coleman here in Houston saw it. He watched. We would talk stories about how Nolan Ryan was one of the guys way back doing Nautilus machines and doing leg work when they didn't want pitchers to do anything. And but all that changed.
Well, you can see they have Chapman warming up in the bullpen here in the 5th inning, so his role has changed quite a bit, especially with Holmes becoming the closer that he's become. And it'll be interesting to see if they bring in Chapman, how he's going to react pitching in the 5th inning, Roger.
Yep.
I was going to ask you that, Michael. When we were in New York with the Tigers, we were up there watching Cody get a couple starts at the stadium, and I was hearing stuff when I went down to say hello to some of the guys in the locker room too, and I was I was wondering, because Chapman, I guess, is Achilles or something bothering him. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
So, but that, and then I hear this other kid is doing well. So, I was wondering who was going to close games.
All right, we'll pick it up when we get back. Chapman is going to see action tonight. It's 6-6 right now as the Red Sox have come back. We'll go to the 6th inning.
You heard the Marauders?
That's right. It's time for Plan B. Roger! Get your hungry hot dogs! Football! You're out.
Hey, I'll trade you Bond and Thomas for 2 armor hot dogs.
No.
Wow.
Wow,
Both
right.
Speaking roles, too. Both of you guys nailed the line.
Nobody's got way too much time on their hands around that studio. I tell you what, how did they find that? That had to be on
detectives.
Like VHS, Beta. I mean,
it was actually black and white. We had to colorize it, Roger.
those dogs were as good as any Dodger dog we've ever had.
Hey, you mentioned your son. Not only has he hit his first big league home run, but he's pitched too. What has this meant for you and your family?
You don't even bring it up. They said that after 2 starts, his ERA is lower than mine. I've been taking it all day today. Yeah. No, he's got. He threw the other night, or what was it, 2 days ago, and was throwing a little cutter, and got 3 ground outs. So, and then next thing you know, I started getting all these tweets about. After 2 starts, Cody Clemens' ERA was lower than his dad after his first 2 starts.
Wow.
Yeah. But my batting average might have been higher.
I know, Roger, that you were at the stadium and he did not get his first hit. Were you able to see his first hit in person, keep following around?
We did. I cut out, had to do a little deal for Helping the Hero, a little organization we do. We give out the Lee Greenwood Patriot Award and Helping the Hero. And so Deb was there. She saw that. Then I got to see she was at the game where I saw his first hit. Excuse me. I saw his first hit. She was in Arizona to see his first home run. So that was pretty cool. And just excited for him. He's worked real hard to get there and get it done.
Nice shot, no doubt about
Yeah, that
it.
was a good one. That was a good one.
Did he ever entertain pitching at all, Roger, or was he always going to be a position player?
Both he and Casey, my number 3 child, is still playing. Casey is trying to work his way back. And Cody, both of them pitched in high school. Cody was like a closer. I said, don't show him. I never taught him any mechanics, but I have a photo that's pretty spot on. And but I know AJ doesn't like doing that with position players, but the way things are going sometimes these blowouts, and they've got a double hitter coming up. They've got to use the position players to get through an inning or two.
Now, you mentioned this Yankee team on pace right now, Roger, for 116 wins. I know you follow the game closely. What do you think about this team?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, I've been able to watch them when I can in person and catch you guys a little bit late night. Again, to me, they just put so much pressure on you. I mean, what some of these guys are doing, Carpenter, I mean, what a story that he's been. I think he's got, I think almost all of his hits have been home runs. But they just put a lot of pressure on you. When you put Aaron Judge in the leadoff spot, I mean, that tells you all you need to know. I mean, he lets the ball get deep, and that right field's a gold mine for him. I mean, I remember when Garrett Cole called me going there. We talked for about 30 minutes on the phone when he was an Astro going to New York for the playoffs, and we talked. And that was the main thing I told him about the right-handed power hitters, that they love shooting the ball that way. So make sure you keep the ball down, middle away, and make sure they're solo shots. They're going to get their home runs, especially how hard Garrett, how hard he throws, and don't let it fluster you. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But the Yankees, they just, they got guys that can put pressure on you. They got guys that can, they're not going to swing and miss. And I think the addition that they had with all the guys, for me, a wild card's Josh Donaldson. I love him. He's obviously real intense, and but yeah, I think that the big surprise. It's fun for me to watch Carpenter do his thing right now, to come back from whatever his hitting woes were and everything like that. But Josh is a wild. I mean, Rizzo's same thing. We talked when Alex was talking about. Guys that really study pitchers while they're out there. I think Rizzo does that very well. I think Carpenter does it very well. They just seem like they're paying attention to detail when a guy's out there doing a thing.
You like that mustache on Carpenter?
Yeah, he's got a solid one. It's solid. I remember some days I pitched on 6 days, on my 6th day, 5 days rest. Was on an off day or something, and I wouldn't shave in between starts in honor of my pops, who would come home from work with his razor stubble and tickle me with it. But Joe would walk by me and grab my face every once in a while, because we couldn't have beards or anything like that.
I wanted to ask you that, and I didn't know it was to honor your dad, but you and Andy would have full beards when you pitched. What would you do if they said you've got to shave? What would you do?
I don't know. Well, it was like a 5 o'clock shadow, so it wasn't too bad. So I don't think they really called us on it, but yeah, it wasn't full grown, Fu Man or beard or anything like that. I just didn't shave, but like I said, if I did get the extra day, it was pretty prominent. So, but that was to honor my pops, and then I'd shave right after. Or if I get pulled out of the game after I ice down, I'd go in and shave and get back down the dugout and some, playoff games or things of that nature.
Roger, we're going to hang with you, but I will tell you one thing, all due respect, that was not a 5 o'clock shadow. That was a 10 p.m. shadow. We'll be back. Download the MLB app to get video highlights, live pitch-by-pitch, breaking news, player updates, stat leaderboards, and more for your favorite team and the rest of the league. Now, the regular season is in full swing and anything can happen. Follow @MLB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube so you don't miss a thing in 2022. Well, we've got a ball game at Fenway Park, bottom of the 6th inning. It's 6-6, fourth game of this 4-game set. Yankees won 2 of the first 3, and we are talking with our good friend, Roger Clemens. Roger, you've seen the rivalry from both sides. Where's it more intense? Where's the hatred more intense? Red Sox to Yankees or Yankees to Red Sox?
I think it gets intense. Well, see, we didn't play then. That's intense. What you're seeing now, the video you're seeing now, that kind of stuff's intense now. Yeah, now that was a strike too. No, I'm just kidding. That was just kind of high. But I think when both teams are very competitive and they have great players and you're winning, and two teams are going for one trophy, that's when it gets fun, and that's when you get really locked in. So I mean, I was fortunate. I got to play for 2 of the most historic teams in baseball, and I wouldn't change it for a thing. It was so much fun, mainly because the fans come out and support you and root you on, and that's what makes it fun as players. I mean, I think I've said it before, early in my career with the Red Sox, our rivals were kind of the Blue Jays because they were winning late 80s, early 90s. The Yankees weren't that good. I mean, they had Donnie Ballgame and a number of other players, but they didn't play that well. Once I got to New York and it got going, they're obviously really good. And then the Red Sox, they stepped it up big time and got some great players and some other players that were overachieving and just making a name for themselves in that city. Then it became fun again because both teams are so competitive. So, but,
hey, Rocket.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Rocket, I knew that you love really smart catchers, and over the years you had some wonderful catchers. Got a base runner there. Nice try. No, he missed it.
I didn't. Okay.
Base hit. Chapman in on first. You never get those hops, right? Like if it's
not when you're struggling.
Yeah, Rocket. So going back to personal catchers, I know you, like from Tony Pena to O'Brien. I know you had some great catchers. John Marzano, our buddy, God bless him. He's not with us anymore. Who were some of your favorite catchers, and what makes a good catcher? What qualities did you like?
Well, all my backstops, what I call my backstops, KayRod, were great because they paid attention to detail. And regardless if I had 1 year in or 24, if I was lethargic out there on the mound and not getting the ball where I was supposed to get the baseball, which, side note, I think that guys in AA and above should be able to get the baseball within a ball to 2 baseballs where the catcher's asking for it. Never spike your fastball. I can't believe how many spiked fastballs I've seen from guys just trying to throw 100 miles an hour. But all my guys paid attention to detail, and if I was lethargic out there, they would come out to the mound and they would light into me a little bit too to get me going, and I had no problem with that. And there would be times when I left the bullpen where my bullpen session was horrible. I would tell them just to stay with me when we get out here where the lights are bright in front of the fans on the main mound. Everything will work. I'll get going a little bit. But all my catchers, they were great.
Give me a couple of names, Rocket. Give me a couple of names.
Well, Charlie O'Brien. Charlie O caught. I think he had a book called Cy Young Catcher. I think he caught like 11 Cy Young awards.
Yeah.
You're right. Getty, Rich Gedman right out of the gate. Billy Hasselman. They're doing a documentary on Punch-In 20. Wait a second. Oh, okay, there it is. I thought he almost caught it. He just came out there at the end. So they're doing a documentary on Punch-In 20. We did, I think they came here and I did a little piece on Nolan's deal called Facing Nolan. I was in LA, did a little bit for Jeet's deal, the captain. They're going to do a piece on striking out 20. And they talked to a few of my catchers, I think. Obviously, Getty and Billy Hasselman. Hass caught the second one in Detroit. Brad Ausmus. I mean, I can go down the line. These guys knew what they were doing. I mean, Fletch in Toronto, quiet hand, trusted where I was going to throw it. fun guys, like you said, Tony Pena. If I wasn't throwing strikes, Tony was catching, he would throw the ball back harder than I would. There was a couple times I took my glove off and offered it to him. I said, "You come out here and pitch. I'll go behind the plate." I knew I wasn't throwing very well. So, but yeah, you're right. Those are my favorite guys, and they would stare at me because, like I said, I would call about 90% of my game from the mound with just my looks or what I did, and. But yeah, I can go all the way back, guys, to the viewers. Let me go back real quick and just hit something while I'm thinking about it. Just came across my mind. Billy Crystal was talking about everybody in the launching factor in those early 80s. Like I said, if we threw somebody down and in, late 80s even, down and in, or that back foot slider to a lefty, I mean, we'd get fined. People like, Cecil Cooper, George Brett, they'd launch those balls. But now since guys are looking out over and diving, that hole's there.
Hey, Rocket.
And, yeah.
I see you have your glove, right? Can you put that glove on? I want to just display for the fans at home. If I'm your catcher, right, one of your backstoppers, just give us an example. Let's go through 3-pitch sequence on, fastball, split fastball. Or how would you tell me what pitch is coming? I'm keeping my eye on you. You're not making a comeback, I don't think.
Yeah, not that I'm making a comeback, right? So
yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. I play in the Lake Tahoe American Century. And Utley, Chase is a pretty quiet guy, but he's a very big student of the game too, and he pays attention to detail. And I think it was myself, Pudge Rodriguez, and Ut. We were out there, and about the third hole, he kind of walks over and wants to make conversation. Rock, he goes, "Tell me one thing, if you would." He goes, "You called your game from the mound, didn't you?" And I said, "I did, buddy." And he said, "Yes, I knew it. I knew it. I had you. I knew it." He goes, "You did it with your feet, didn't you?" I go, "No, I never did it with my feet." And then we walked about another 10 yards. He goes, "So you're not going to tell me?" And I go, "No, I'm not going to tell you. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you anything either." No.
No, but Rocket, give me an example of if you're a youngster out there. Don't give me your exact, but tell me what are ways that you can communicate. Yeah.
Yeah. So. I very rarely in a 120-pitch game, I might throw my curveball 6 times, so you would see my lips. I'd almost blow you a kiss to the catcher, and I had it loaded, and we knew what was going on. Usually, my eyes would look to one side of the plate or the other. That would detail the pitch I'm throwing, whether it be fastball or slider. Mm-hmm. If I look straight down the barrel at you, my eyes never moved, it was a split. Mm-hmm. I could hitch my belt. There was just so many ways that we had it. Now, we roll into a town where one of our catchers have been traded that I worked with. They're on top of me over there, so all bets are off. All bets are off then. So, but I tell people to practice perfect, even with their glove. Whether you start it right here and then you go to prayer position, so you're there every time. As you know, we had many guys over the years that would come set right here for fastball and go straight to their fastball. But to get their spike curve or whatever they're going to get, they would come up over their logo on their hat and come set. And it was obvious. I mean, like 3 inches is a big deal for you guys, for you hitters. I mean, it makes a 280 hitter a 380 hitter, obviously. So that's why you see guys that fan their gloves. They fan them because they're digging in there. Mm-hmm. We had a guy's changeup, a very famous pitcher. I won't even tell you who it was, but I think he used his high school glove through his entire career. It was the ugliest, nastiest glove, and it was really loose. And he would be normal with his fastball, and then when he'd go get his changeup, the glove would fan open, and you got him. I mean, so that's. And I tell the young guys, instead of sitting over there, looking in the stands or spitting sunflower seeds, pay attention, because if you don't practice perfect and you don't have quality side work and proper side work. When you get to the biggest moments, your bad habits are going to come back, and we're going to get you. So it's super important.
Hey, Rocket, Joe, put this camera on me. I'm going to show the fans at home one of the many reasons why Rocket was so special. Okay, if you put this camera right on me right here. Okay, so if Michael, if you were hitting, right, and Rocket was, and I'm at second base, right? Where's that camera? Let's see here. Let me open it. Okay. Right? So you see me, Rocket, right?
Yeah, that's
So
right.
Rocket, a lot of amateur pitchers, right, that didn't have a lot of experience, if they had a split and I was at second base, Michael, and you're hitting, they would come right here, right? And they will hold it 1 second, 1 second, 3. They're showing me let me see. They're showing me the split, right? Where's that camera? And they put it in and they have it right here. And I have enough time to tell you this pitcher's gonna throw your split finger. Rocket was different, right? Rocket would come here and he'll have a fastball, he'll have a split,
right.
And you think a split's coming, and before you know it, he's shifting it and he's throwing you a fastball. So there's so many ways for veteran. I mean, you got Alomar, Paul Molitor, the Blue Jays were incredible. But when you have really smart guys, we can relay to you at home if Rocket's showing me at second base what he's going to throw. But he was one of the best at showing and hiding everything. And he was one of the most paranoid pitchers on how to hide the ball, signs, but he never gave anything away.
Let's quickly.
When you say paranoid, and the reason being, guys, I came up at 21, 22 years of age, and I had Dwight Evans, and my locker mate was Marty Barrett. And that's all those two guys did was study the pitcher. I would be in the dugout listening to them do that. And I was like, okay, I've got to make sure that I practice perfect in doing that. And Alex was right. I mean, I'd be just like this with split. I used to be like this, and the guys were getting my split like this because there would be my fastball, if you can see my wrist, because I'm hiding it from the base runner at second. Okay, and then I go get my split, you'd see a little of this. Well, George Brett and the guys like that, they're on top of that. They're all over. So then I said, you know what, I've got to just go ahead and hide it and be here and let them see split. And, I got Ricky Henderson a couple times trying to steal third, because I would show him split, just like Alex was talking about to your viewers, split, and then right when I got ready to go, got back with the proper grip, but it was quick, fastball, moving, bang, bang, throw the guy out of third. He took off.
Roger, let me stop you guys for a second. So this is a guy in a situation that he's not used to being in, Aroldis Chapman. He has struggled before the Achilles problem. He struggled before then. He's lost his closer role to Clay Holmes. He's got the bases loaded. Things are unraveling with that drop pop-up, which was a tough play. Roger, what's going through this guy's mind? This guy was an all-time great, and now he's not feeling that way.
Well, first of all, you got to understand, he's a power thrower. He's not a power pitcher. And when you can stretch him out and get him to throw a lot of pitches, he can get a little bit like this. We were always talking to this guy's situation before to take a little bit off of the 104, maybe go 99 and be more of a pitcher to understand where you're throwing it. But you're right. Everything is in fast pace right now. This is totally different than any rehab or backfield start that you're going to have.
Did you ever feel lost out there, Roger?
He didn't get a borderline pitch right there. Yeah, everything speeds up, so you got to slow down, and especially with guys on base. Something that's related but not. When they started making us stop as pitchers, instead of you could break your hands and go quick, it helped me control the running game, and it helped me slow down when you're in a situation like this. So, yeah, but it's fast-paced right now, and it's not really like you can't really say it's like if he would be closing a game where he's coming in and he has to get work, and he's got a 5-run lead. This is totally different.
Yeah, and I got to tell you too, Rocky. You said he didn't get a call there by the umpire. He also didn't get a play by LeMahieu. When you're struggling, you don't get the plays and you don't get the calls. But just for the fans at home to understand the emotional demotion of a pitcher who's used to pitching the 9th inning, who's now pitching the 6th inning. Emotionally, you feel like you've been demoted to the JV. And you're coming in.
Yeah, he's blinking right now, and he's in this game, game situation that's going to decide the game here very quickly. You got helped out there a lot. That's just not paying attention to detail at the plate. You really got to see him in the zone. But again, he's been in these situations, Brad. Everything's pretty fast-paced for him, but totally different than, I don't know what kind of if he did some minor league starts or he was just throwing down in Tampa on a backfield to make sure that his heels were all right. But you know, his stuff is still nasty.
He certainly had innings in the minors. And I'm not sure. Are they going to the bullpen now again to take him out?
How many pitches has he thrown?
He's just a pinch hitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's at 20 pitches right now. Now, let's talk about the emotional aspect, Alex.
Yep.
There was a time that Joe Torre dropped you to 8th.
Yeah.
What's the different mindset? This guy, again, closed World Series games for the Cubs, and now he's pitching in the 6th inning.
Different mindset. When you're a hitter, you know, whether I'm hitting 1st, 2nd, or 8th, it's still mano a mano. When you're a closer and you're used to, there's nothing more difficult than getting the 3 outs of the game. The last 3 outs are the hardest. And all of a sudden, there's an adrenaline that comes out. You usually have a song. You remember Mariano Rivera had his famous song when he came in. Most closers have their song. It's excited. You get a standing ovation, both at home and on the road. Here's a generic 6th inning. It feels like spring training. And I played with a lot of pitchers that felt insulted and embarrassed, and they would never pitch well unless it was the 9th.
Here's Jeter Downs. He got his first hit yesterday, and then got he scored the game-winning run as well. And this is a guy who was named after Derek Jeter. And this is his first hit right off the end of the bat. He picked it up. He had gotten to the ballpark 25 minutes before the game when he got called up from Worcester. And you can see how pumped up he was.
That's exactly how Derek got his hit. Derek was talking about snorkeling and snorkeling the mask. Right field. Go to right field. Go to right field. And Alex talked about, Michael, about how I go about some of my work and different things of that nature. I can tell you that when Alex got moved down the same lineup, he's still dangerous. And he did, when he got back on track, he did what he did, and he'll understand why I pay attention to detail. When he came to spring training, I think his first 15 hits, he was trying to hit him to right center in spring training, letting the ball deep, seeing pitches, and you hit the ball to right field. You can't defense that. And then when he got hot and he got going again, that's where his hits came from.
So the count is 0-2 on Jeter Downs. Has a high fly ball into shallow center. And again, the ball is dropped. A run will score, but they get the out at second. So they get the force at second for the second out. And Chapman not pitching in the best of luck.
No, he's not.
That's right. And like I would tell you earlier when I was going to get to it, eluded me for a minute, but he is still such a dominant pitcher. He's good enough to get 4 outs for you. I don't know about 5, but, I mean, we got a break here to get a force out. But, I'm not, there's not too many guys that get 5 outs without having a lot of traffic and a lot of trouble. But he's good enough. Yeah, there's like I don't care if you're a number 1 starter or the 5th starter or you're a closer. You're good enough to get 4 outs in an inning, and then you save your guys from answering to the media after the game.
Well, Jeter Downs reaches on a fielder's choice. He doesn't get a hit on that because the force was at second. Does pick up an RBI to the Red Sox now. They were trailing 6-3. Now it's 7-6 in favor of the Red Sox, and they'll have to face Christian Vasquez, who has a home run and a double in 3 at-bats tonight.
And I can hear DJ LeMahieu from here saying, no more fly balls, please.
I just think this is going to get even more competitive. When they get their starters, Waka and Uvalde and, I think Sale's like starting Tuesday, so that's going to be fun to watch. They may be able to, climb back into a wild card spot. It'll make it real interesting if they just get some of their starters that we're used to seeing that haven't been healthy.
And they'll also get back Garrett Whitlock, who was so great out of the bullpen last year. So they're getting back some of their arms, and right now they're trying to tread water. Now, if the Yankees could win this game, they have a 16-game lead. But if the Yankees lose this game, it will be a 14-game lead. And history shows us in 1978, the Yankees came back from a 14-game deficit.
Michael, history has also taught us never to give up on a team that is managed by Alex Cora. I can guarantee you one thing. If they get healthy, you're going to have to deal with the Red Sox at some point.
How does Chapman look to you, Roger?
I mean, he looks the same to me. And then you can't teach confidence. I mean, so I have no idea, what he's feeling right now. But, this is a great challenge situation for him right out of the gate.
Well, that was 102, so he's got the velocity.
Oh, yeah, no, he'll miss. He'll miss, and you think that he's not going to find the zone for a while, and then he'll bust a couple sliders right in there, and then the hitter will help him out because you got to make up your mind pretty quick. But his stuff's good enough to get outs. I mean, when he lets it go when he wants to. But you can tell when he's got confidence. There you go.
Now that ball's really moving. He struck out Dahlbeck on that pitch, and now he strikes out Vasquez to get out of a gem. The Red Sox strand 2. We'll come back with Roger. We go to the 7th inning. Red Sox 7, Yankees 6. You're watching KayRod right here on ESPN 2. We go to the 7th inning at Fenway Park, and it's Boston 7 and the Yankees 6. Michael Kay, Alex Rodriguez, and Roger Clemens on the KayRod broadcast here on ESPN2. So the Red Sox have come back, as they did yesterday. The first game that the Yankees lost, that they were leading in the 8th inning or later. So they lost that one, and now they are trailing here in the 7th inning, and Aaron Judge will lead off. Roger, how would you pitch to Aaron Judge?
I'd pitch him in as best I could. I mean, I want to make him feel uncomfortable inside and just try and crowd him a little bit. That would be at Yankee Stadium. Here, I'd probably stay away just because I'm trying to pitch that side of the field. So obviously he's strong enough to hit it anywhere at any time. And same thing with Stanton. I know he's going to get a boatload of sliders, but man, he clears his hips. And if you just happen to leave it just a little bit in, those guys are just so strong. I mean, they can backspin that ball out of anywhere.
Now, you mentioned you want to make him uncomfortable, and I ask you this question, and you can answer whichever way you like. Did you ever throw at somebody on purpose?
Oh, to clean up games we sure did. If a couple of my teammates felt like, they weren't happy with what happened to them at the plate, I knew when Jeet or whoever it was to sit down next to me, which they would hardly ever do when I was throwing. I said, yeah, you got a problem with this guy? And they said, I do. And
really?
But I pitched to make a 17-inch plate a 24-inch plate. And when I say to make somebody uncomfortable, my mechanics, my front shoulder, which is my steering wheel, I got so many comments from different big league hitters, especially whether it be an all-star game or spring training, is that they always said that I made him feel uncomfortable because of my mechanics. It always felt like I was coming in on him. And really, which again, I tell young pitchers, older pitchers, is when they get out of whack, somebody like Chapman too, that when he gets a little erratic, that becomes his front shoulder. Obviously, it's opposite with a lefty, becomes his power side. I don't know if that was a slider or just a low two-seamer.
Now I remember David Cohn has told me many times, our colleague over on Sunday Night Baseball, and I worked with him on Yes, that when he faced Derek Jeter when he was a member of the Red Sox, he said it was very uncomfortable because he had played with him for so long. Was it tough for you to face players that you had been teammates with?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. But once the game's going on, I always knew 2 or 3 of them for sure that were real close. They're trying to hit a ball back up the middle off my kneecap, and I'm trying to get them out, so for bragging rights on the off season on the golf course. So, but I knew who the hitter was, but I was really focused on, it was no different than we'd go over scouting report, and the first 4 hitters, the scouts would be saying, okay, this guy's a first ball fastball hitter. Second hitter, he's first ball fastball hitter. Third hitter, he's a first ball fastball. So what am I going to do? Throw a split or a hook? No, I'm going to throw one of my 4-seamer or my 2-seam fastball, a quality pitch, and then I'm going to work off that. And but my mechanics, again, when I tell the kid, your glove side, your front shoulder, that's your steering wheel or quiet side. The other one, this side, your back side, your power side. And if you get that turned around, you start trying to get firm. It's just like, trying to hit a golf ball 300 yards, and it's only going to go 250 and probably sideways somewhere. Meanwhile, I'm playing with a couple pros that are, 6 foot, 160 pounds, and they're bouncing it out there 320, 330 because they're mechanically sound. And there's no difference when you're out there pitching. So your mechanics and the way you set up and the way you deliver the baseball, you can hide the ball longer so the hitter doesn't see it till it comes off your fingertips. I've talked
ground
to
ball by
plenty
Rizzo.
of hitters.
2-away.
I've talked to many hitters and about a couple of my fellow pitcher mates, and where they hit him around pretty good, and they said that he opens up, he doesn't get his gate closed, which is his leg kick, and when he delivers the ball, even though he's throwing 97 miles an hour, they say it looks like a volleyball coming in there or a softball because they don't hide the ball that well on their delivery. This man right here.
Did you ever fear being hit by him?
No, I never feared being hit by him, but he did such a great job of hiding the ball, and he never showed you the ball till it was out of his hand. Where some pitchers, you see it the whole way coming at you, and it just looks really slow, like that beach ball.
Now, Stanton's stance, if you will, look how closed he is. He's already closed. He's keeping that front shoulder closed as a hitter, too. So now, as a pitcher, you're thinking he can reach the outside corner, but he'll clear on a slider if you hang it just a little bit. That front side, he'll clear, man. He'll put a dent in that wall if you just hang it just a little bit. Look how closed he is, or even his stance. So that gives you, the only thing that I would do to try and lock him up once I was ahead would be throw that tight slider right at him to try and freeze him, you cannot leave it to the middle of the plate to his barrel. It's a very dangerous situation.
Front door slider that starts at his hip and is either going to be black, in, or off. But he does not want to get that ball middle, because then that becomes a home run pitch, dangerous pitch.
So, Roger, if he's closed that much, is he susceptible to the fastball inside?
He clears, though, Michael. Watch, he'll clear on a lot of pitches.
So if he clears, does that make him susceptible to the outside pitch?
Well, right there, that's a pitch he wants. He could hurt, but it locked him up just for a second. It looked like he was coming in on him. He's not going to hit as many balls out to right like Judge, but he can do that on a fastball up and away because he's so strong with an emergency swing. Let's see if he goes back and repeats that little tight slider or cutter, whatever that was.
Fastball.
Boy, that's you're You're striking matches at a gas station right there.
I thought the same thing.
He pulled off of it just a little. That was if you're going to throw a high fastball, you better throw it high. That wasn't a high fastball. That's like the catcher when he slaps the ground and he wants you to bounce your breaking ball. You never bounce it. You always hang it, and it goes the other way about 400.
2-2 on Stanton. 2 outs here in the top of the 7th. 7-6 Boston. Strike
There it
3.
is.
Sawamura strikes him out.
There it is. Just like the doctor ordered.
All right, it's time for the 7th inning stretch. We'll come back with Roger. KayRod right here. Stay right there on ESPN2. Well, Yankee manager Aaron Boone did not like Tripp Wilson's strike zone. He said that was ball 6. And Tripp Wilson said, well, you know what? You've been ejected now for the 4th time this year. And Rizzo can't handle the scoop. As the Red Sox get the lead runner on, that's J.D. Martinez on an E6. And Boone certainly got his money's worth.
All kinds of good stuff. Yeah, not only did he get him, he gave the business to the third base umpire too on the way out.
Oh, he got everybody.
he got. Yeah, there you go, Boney. That's it. That's it. That's it. Yeah, he's giving everybody the business. More importantly, though, at the very beginning of that video, something caught my eye that you have to show. You have to show the very. Right when Booney was saying that's ball 6, I think that's where you'll see it. Yes! Look in the background. They're everywhere, baby. No, the eyes of Texas are upon you. Let's go. I told you,
Well,
Rod, they're everywhere.
up.
That burnt orange is everywhere, baby.
Hey, Rocket, I have to think about, you're talking about something that I just thought about, was when I thought about ejection, I remember as a kid watching, I think I may have missed school that day, when you got kicked off in Oakland. Who was that? Was that Rick that threw you?
I don't know who it was. I don't even remember that. No.
Oh.
When we had a little eye black on, I had Ninja Turtles on my shoes. And that was a short outing, and guys threw stuff out of the dugout, the gum box, the Gatorade. It turned into a WWE match.
Classic.
So, yeah, that was a good one. That was yeah, that was kind of like my, I think my mom is the one that started, because a couple times I got hot on the mound, and I said a couple things that like I said, what's my T-shirt? I have a T-shirt that says, "I love the Lord, but I do cuss a little." But she said, "Honey, everybody's watching. Your sisters, your family at home. Put your glove up in front of your face." So now everybody does that when they talk. Everybody's out there doing this now. So.
All right, so Roger, we saw some snappage from Boone earlier this week in a rehab assignment. Chris Sale did not pitch the way he wanted to, and somebody surreptitiously recorded him, and he tore up a minor league clubhouse. Just tore it up.
Well, I'm glad
you better
that was
that
pretty
kind of snappage.
Well, yeah, I don't know if he was pulling the ceiling out or what, but two things: glad he didn't cut his hand, and glad he didn't blow out his. I think he's scuffling from a rib cage or something, I think. So, but sometimes, like you said, that's what makes those guys tick. He gets fired up. I can tell you many times in the tunnel where you think that, it's safe down there, where you can, rail on yourself or get pissed off every once in a while. But evidently there's some kind of camera or somebody got it. So I'm just glad he didn't. I'm looking forward to watching him start. He's one of those guys that like we did when Stanton was hitting or Judge is hitting, we kind of be quiet and watch the at-bat. And those are the guys that are fun to watch.
Well, Carlos Mendoza is the acting manager, with Boone being thrown out for the 4th time this year. Miguel Castro takes over for Chapman. Runners are on first and second. And one thing that the Yankees have done really well this year is play defense. Tonight, not so much. An error there by IKF. Then the two balls that DJ LeMay, who's a Gold Glove caliber player, could not make a play. They were not errors. So this has not been the clean game they have been playing all year.
Mike, if there's one thing that concerns me about the Yankees, is almost too much richness. 15 games, sometimes teams get a little bored. They start losing a little bit of the fundamentals, and you always want to make sure you have a little tension. You don't want to get too comfortable, but there's been 3 or 4 plays that should have been made that have not been made. Obviously, you look at Chapman as well, and you just always want to keep the tension, especially as you go into the second half of the year.
Well, I don't know all the numbers, KayRod, or the guys. I know the guys, a couple of the guys that have rings and have played in the playoffs, but hopefully you have other, 1, 2, 3, maybe other veteran guys that haven't had a taste of that, and that'll deter that from happening, because those guys will, they're going to want to push it all the way to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. So here is Verdugo. He's one of the guys that came over from the Dodgers in the Mookie Betts deal. As his Jeter Downs, he gets a big base hit right there. Base hit to right field as Judge comes up throwing, and the bases are loaded, nobody out against Miguel Castro.
That wasn't a bad pitch. I think it was down.
Yeah.
It was down. I don't know if it was in, but that's that zone.
Yeah, a little change up down here, Rocket.
Yep, change up down. It was just middle down.
But I got to tell you, can't forget how this inning started is by a routine ground ball to short that should have been made. It wasn't, and all hell's broken loose here. Bases loaded, no out, and the Sox are set up.
Matt Blake, the pitching coach, who's done such a great job with the staff, he comes out and talks with Castro. I'm just wondering, Roger, the Red Sox, after losing the first 2 games of the series, you would say their chance of winning the East is teetering. Then they had the come-from-behind victory yesterday. They're playing a game tonight where they're leading. Is this something that could save their season, these 2 games?
I think what's going to save their season when they get these arms back, these starters back that are healthy, And if they can just stay afloat until then, it'll be a little bit of a game changer for them. Right here, if you can get out of this with one run, I mean, you're looking, if you can get out of this with one run, it'd be a miracle. Again, I said it earlier, try and get 4 outs. Like KayRod said, you know, they booted the first one, and so now you got to get 4 outs. But you got your hands full here. If you can get out of this with one, you're still within striking distance.
Yeah, so let me add to what Rocket just said. So if I'm Alex Cora, I'm going to do a little kind of role play. Coming back in the second half, Alex Cora sits in front of his 26 players and says the following. First half is over. Don't ever think about it again. We were not healthy. We're getting our arms back, like Rocket said. Now let's go out and have the best second half we can. And if we're the better team in the second half and take that momentum to the postseason, we can end up winning our fifth championship over the last 17 or 18 years. You can't do anything about the first half. I think Alex Cora will tell his troops something like that in the second half.
Look at those standings. I mean, look what the Orioles have done. The Orioles are starting to play pretty good baseball.
Yeah.
Trevor Story hits one deep to center field. That ball is off the wall. The throw home, not in time. He clears the bases with a double off the wall. Trevor Story comes up big. It's 10-6, Red Sox.
In just a couple of feet.
Who was on first base?
Fifth.
Verdugo.
Verdugo.
Yeah,
great base running.
He read that perfect. He read that perfect. That's the only way he's scoring. He knew it was.
It was a good call, Rocket. Great base running. Took off just a couple of feet away from Story's 5th career Grand Slam. But look at Verdugo go. Look at Verdugo. This is outstanding base running.
To figure out. Yeah, he had to be for him scoring that easily.
And again, one simple error, the floodgates open. And when you go to Fenway Park, you got to play errorless baseball. And the Yankees so far have not.
So 7 unanswered runs by the Red Sox. It's 10-6. It was 6-3. Yankees go to the bullpen again. 3 runs in. Runner at second. Nobody out. We will come back. Albert Abreu comes in relief. Cordero tries to bunt, and the ball is thrown away. And a very sloppy inning continues as Trevor Story ends up scoring on that bunt. 11-6 Red Sox.
And Alex already trying to add on to a nice lead already. And bad defense is contagious.
Well, you can go all the way back. I mean, I think you know, the NBA, when you watch a little basketball, you can see the swings, the momentum swings in basketball more so than baseball, but none more than tonight. The borderline call.
I can't believe Story scored on this. Let's watch how he did it. Just never stopped going.
Yeah, he saw the ball get away. Yeah, he did fine. He saw the ball get away, but the momentum, wow. I mean, that's incredible when you know, Stanton gets called out on a borderline pitch. Looked like it might have clipped the square box. Booney gets thrown out. A little craziness there, and then the error.
And then the
Huge
Texas
swing.
guy behind the Yankee dugout. I mean, there's a lot of things unraveling here.
Yeah, great point. Might be the point of the night.
All right, so Roger, you pitched for the Yankees, and the Yankees, when you were there, obviously George Steinbrenner was in his prime, and it was you had to win a championship. You pitched for the Red Sox, and they were sitting on 19-18. What was more pressure, pitching for the Red Sox or for the Yankees that had to win?
Man, I don't know that I felt pressure at any point. I think we got pretty lucky. I mean, I brought over speaking of the University of Texas, you know, beat Alabama in the final game and brought that winning tradition. I think my fellow pitching mate, Bruce Hurst, he said it perfect, who gave me my nickname after I punched out 20 in that 86 season, that, you know, pitching was a second-class citizen until I got to Boston. And we kind of changed that. And we started winning again. It was really cool to have somebody like Jim Rice and Dwight Evans from 75 and to get to that winning, to the winning ways again. Mr. Steinbrenner was great. I mean, that's when the Yankees were in control of the team, and Mrs. Yawkey was fantastic. Gave me some great encouragement and was easy to talk to when I was in Boston. And then George came down here to my house in Houston and said, "Hey, you want to be a Yankee or don't you?" And he said, "I've been trying to get you for a couple times," and just hit it off. You know, it was great. You know, George was obviously more mellow at that point, but he still was the type of, you know, he's still the type of owner that, you know, if there was a player out there, if he only had $5 in his pocket and the player cost us 10, he was going to go out and get them for it to help us win. So when you have an owner that wants to win as bad as the players, you can't help but go out there and perform like we did.
Hey, Rocket, when the big boss goes to Texas, does Mama Debbie does he cook her a little barbecue, hot dogs? What do you offer a guy like George Steinbrenner?
He had choice of the best barbecue and the best Mexican food you could have. and let me tell you what, he had that turtleneck on and that blue blazer, and he got food all over it.
But here's what I never understood. This guy comes down there and he's pumping iron with you, and you went to Toronto. Why didn't you go to New York?
No, that was the second time when he decided to get on my hamstring. Okay. Yeah, when he got on my hamstring machine up there, and I was like, this is not going to turn out well. He's going to rip both of his hamstrings, or he's going to end up in my second floor down in my kitchen. But he was all enthusiastic about it. He goes, "Yeah, I still work out," and he jumped on that thing, took his jacket off, and I go, "Oh gosh, this is not going to work out too well." But I had plenty of ice on property in case he tore both hamstrings. And but yeah, it was you know, like I said, I had one of those satin jackets from '75 that my mom found that I totally forgot I had it, and it had a white stripe on it for one of the players that had passed. So I had no idea I had that, and but it was cool. I got to keep Babe Ruth's forehead shiny for a bunch of years and a bunch of wins.
Fun times for sure. 0-2 on Jeter Downs.
Boy, this one got away quick. Got away quick.
Really did.
Nope.
Checks the swing. Abreu wanted the call. He doesn't get it. We're in the bottom of the 7th inning, talking with Roger Clemens here on the KayRod cast. Sunday night, Yankees and the Red Sox. We'll be back again next Sunday night, same two teams. The venue will be 161st Street and River Avenue.
Let's go. That's going to be a good one.
Swing and a miss. Roger, this has been a blast. We love talking with you. Thank you so much for giving us your baseball knowledge.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks. Always good to see you guys. Keep it up, and look forward to doing it again.
All right, really fun time. We'll be back. Well, the Yankees have had the season they've had because they've had great defense. It's been a glove story all year. Now, that's not an easy play for LeMahieu. That's not either, but Alex, those are plays that he does make.
Yeah, and he made them tougher than what they were. He should have gone back there a little bit better. Obviously, that's a play that should be made, and this is another one. And the Yankees not doing the little things in this game, and the Red Sox are. You see scoring from second, their story. And on the previous one, Verdugo, great base running from first base. And look, this is a very fragile game. This is only the second game, Michael, where the Yankees have given up 10 runs. And all of a sudden, you look up in the last 8 innings, they've given up 14 runs, right? So you do not want to give a team like the Red Sox any time or any hope to breathe.
0-2 on Donaldson, who's been a great hitter in his career at Fenway Park. He's had a great first 3 games as well, although he did not hold on to a double play ground ball that would have ended the game last night and given the Yankees the victory. Matt Strom is the new Red Sox pitcher, 4th pitcher used by them. So we're in the 8th inning, and Boston leads the Yankees by 5. The Yankees scored 2 runs in the first, 2 runs in the second, 2 runs in the third, but the Red Sox kept chipping away and kind of have blown it open of late. Now let's go to James Smythe. James, you got some information for us?
This game has been filled with a lot of action. It was 6-2 Yankees in the 3rd inning. All of a sudden, 11-6 Boston. The 11 runs allowed by the Yankees, a season high. Every other team in the major leagues this season has had a game allowing 11 or more runs. We've talked a lot this season about the Yankees having a lot of comeback wins. What's also lost in that, though, is that they have an MLB low 8 blown lead losses. So this is very unusual.
Yeah, this is a very un-Yankee-like game for sure, James. And James is our information. He's our brain, essentially.
He is.
Yeah.
He certainly is. Brains is not here, at least not in this seat.
Not in this one either. So the count 0-1. We're going to talk with Tony Maserati, big shot radio personality in Boston. He'll join us in the bottom of the 8th inning. Tony and I go back a long way to our print days.
Tony and I go back a long way, too. He buried me for like 20 years.
Hates you, right?
I'm a fan of his, but he actually doesn't like me that much.
We'll find out. I can't imagine someone not liking you.
Oh, you can imagine it.
No. Not in this room.
So, Michael, I want to put a button on the conversation we're having with when we have a man on second. If you're the hitter,
okay.
So the fans at home, you would be me at second base, right? And you're looking right into this, Michael. If I was at second and somebody showed me this, you would know a split was coming. Okay. If they did this, you would know a changeup was coming, right? If they did this, there's a little base knock. You would know a fastball was coming. So I can basically tell you what was coming. I didn't need to look at the signs, okay? The only time I got rocket, because he would always change it right before the pitch. The only time I got rocket is from the windup.
Right.
He would leave it open right here. So I would know as a fastball. So rocket was set up here, right? And if he came here, I knew it was a split. So if I was at second base, I would let you know that split's coming.
But the only way he'd be in the windup with you at second base is if the bases are loaded.
You got it. Bases loaded.
That's the only time that you had the window.
We got him a few times.
Wow.
And that's how much we had to study Rocket to beat him, because he did not leave any holes open for you for any shenanigans.
Now, take me a little further, though.
Yeah.
So you're Alex. You're at second base. You see that. How do you relay that to the batter?
So let's just say that the money pitch and for Rocket was a split.
Right.
And if he was giving up split, it would just be, if I was completely still, it wasn't the split. It would be a fastball. The minute that I moved, any movement, that means a split was coming, right? So so here's a split, boom. If you can take that pitch away from Rocket, that pitch made him a 7-time Cy Young winner. Right. If we can take that pitch away from him, we can make him a mortar, right? We can make him a regular human being.
Right.
So I could be at second base. If any movement in my body, that means that split was coming. If I stayed still as I am, that means the fastball's coming. And all of a sudden, a major a 200 hitter, it would make you a 300 hitter.
What happens when he started to really use that slider a little bit more?
Now, the slider you wouldn't have to worry about, because that was his third pitch.
Right.
And he would only throw it about 5% of the time.
Gotcha.
But it was money time. He was throwing 2 pitches, fastball and split.
All right, we're going to the bottom of the 8th inning as the Yankees leave a runner on. We're going to talk to Tony Maserati. He knows all things Boston. That's when we come back right here on the KayRod Cast on ESPN2. Enjoy the show with baseball's two biggest events back-to-back. The action begins at the T-Mobile Home Run Derby on ESPN, July 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then catch baseball's biggest stars at the 92nd MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. July 19th on Fox. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the World Baseball Classic is also back. Qualifying rounds for the 2023 World Baseball Classic take place September 10th through October 5th in Panama City, Panama, and Regensburg, Germany. For more information, visit worldbaseballclassic.com. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning. It is 11-6. The Red Sox over the Yankees, and we're excited to bring in our good friend, well, my good friend, he doesn't like Alex, and that's Tony Maserati, big afternoon drive personality in Boston, longtime writer for the Boston Herald as well. Tony, how you doing?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
We're doing great. Alex says say whatever you want about him right now. Here he is, almost face to face.
Okay, so look, hate is a strong word. Okay, I don't know that I hate anybody on the planet, but I will say that if he feels that way, I should tell you, Alex, that most people feel that way after I talk to them. So I don't know that it was anything exclusive to you. Is probably the better way to say it.
Now you spent forever in Boston, Tony. Alex was this close to being a Red Sox player. How would the world have changed? How would he have been accepted in Boston?
Oh, at the time, I think he would have been accepted with open arms. You know, that offseason that you're talking about, Michael, that 03-04 offseason was a landmark offseason. I'm not sure we'll ever see another one like it. You know, Alex can speak to the parts of it that involve him, obviously, but he was pretty close to coming here, I think. There was a lot of stuff involved with the union and making his contract whole, and I know there are a lot of variables in there that probably, in retrospect, were not going to get sorted out. But he obviously ended up in New York. Schilling and Folk ended up in Boston. I mean, that was an arms race unlike anything we've ever seen, I think, in baseball history.
There's a ground ball to Donaldson, 2 away. I'm curious, Tony. Dan Shaughnessy had a tweet earlier. The Red Sox didn't want to sign Betts, Schwarber, or Benintendi. They're all All-Stars. And it looks like they might not sign Bogarts and Devers. Do you believe it will come to that they won't sign those two?
So I have a hard time believing that they're going to let Devers walk out the door. He's too good a hitter. He's too young. You know, we're talking about a guy that's still basically in his mid-20s or just beyond. Bogarts is a little different. The organization has had this philosophy now for a number of years of not necessarily signing guys when they get into their 30s, with few exceptions. I don't necessarily agree with it. In fact, Bogarts to me is a pivotal guy for them for lots of reasons. I would never let Xander Bogarts walk out the door if I had any say really in the Red Sox decision-making process. But look, things have changed. You know, there was a time here where the Red Sox were in the running for every big name player in baseball. And I think they still should be. And for whatever reason, now they're deciding against those sorts of contracts. And look, you know, I just think that sometimes you have to accept the reality that if you sign a superstar player, there's going to be dead money on the end of the deal. That doesn't mean that the deal is not going to be worth it. Because I think those players have great value in lots of different ways to an organization, and they're centerpiece players. And I think it's hard to win championships without those kinds of guys. I think you need them. So I hope I'm wrong, but they've let a lot of guys go here the last couple of years. There's no question about it.
Hey, Tony, I wish that philosophy of not signing guys in their 30s was in play with Big Papi, so we could have gotten the heck out of Boston. But talking about this year's team, I'm a huge Alex Cora fan, and I just told Michael and Rocket that any team that he's the leader of, you can't give up on. And if there's one player or two, what do the Red Sox need on the trade deadline for the second half?
So, Alex, just to jump back to Ortiz quickly, you know, when he was here, he took some what I would call team-friendly deals that were a little shorter in length. And so I think that is why it worked out. And in retrospect, I think it was a good move from him, too. The ballpark was good for him. I happen to agree with you on Cora. I think so there's something we can agree about. How about that? So, you know, Alex Cora to me is as astute a manager in that dugout as the Red Sox have ever had. And Terry Francona obviously had a terrific run here for a long, long time. But Cora is very perceptive. He's excellent at running a game. He's excellent at keeping a team on the rails. It doesn't mean he's perfect at everything, but I do agree that he'll find a way to keep them in it and keep them motivated, keep them focused. The obvious area that they've had problems with is the bullpen. It's just been a disaster, frankly. And this goes back to how the Red Sox are now being built, what the philosophies are, and how are they going to do it. And Chaim Bloom was brought in from Tampa Bay. We all know that the Rays operate under payroll restrictions, and there are certain types of guys that they can profile. I say profile a guy that they bring in and out, and that typically throws hard and they can get mileage out of and then move on. Like, for example, the Red Sox just released Hansel Robles, who was picked up at the trading deadline last year and effectively served as their closer for a period, a good chunk of, or a fair chunk of the last year or so. And now he's gone, and that to me just doesn't articulate what the Red Sox are.
Tony, thanks so much, buddy. Love talking with you, and we'll catch up next time. All right?
Thanks, Tony.
Guys, be well.
Be well. All right, so we were asking you to vote. Which Yankee or Red Sox player would you like to see in the home run derby? And here's how the voting came down. 50% want to see Aaron Judge. He says he's not doing it. Giancarlo Stanton, 31%. He said he might. Then Rizzo, Devers, and Story. All right, welcome back to KayRod. These are the Ks.
We've doubled.
Yeah, this is Callie K, and this is Charlie K. And you know what? They thought it would be a good idea to come see Daddy at work, but they didn't know Red Sox Yankee games go about 4 hours.
That's right.
Yeah, and they got camp tomorrow. They're in trouble.
Yeah, Falls News. Yeah.
How you doing, Cal?
Good.
Got to face the camera. That's the way it works. All right, so this is it for the Yankees as we go to the ninth inning. And Alex, this I'm not going to say any game in the middle of July is a big game, but this is a significant win for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I think the Yankees will think about this a little.
Yeah, not such a big deal for the Yankees, except you want to just clean it up and play good baseball. But a huge win. I mean, look, you looked at yesterday's game in the sixth inning, and they were looking at maybe getting swept. And all of a sudden, they came back, and now you go home with a split, and they end this game with 8 unanswered runs, and the winning run off the bat of a guy named Jeter.
Right.
Great play here.
And they did not play great defense.
And they did not.
And yesterday was the first game that they had a lead going into the 8th inning, that they lost. So a couple of things have happened. The Yankees were looking at taking the first 3 games of the series. All of a sudden, it might be a split now.
And the second game all year, the Yankees give up 10 runs.
Right.
So if you're the Yankees, you'll think about it. You'll go home, take the day off tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And
then the Reds come to town.
And then it's showtime.
Right. So that'll bring up DJ LeMahieu. Alex, you know, at the big board 2 weeks ago, Charlie's favorite player is Aaron Judge.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he got a little upset when you gave a 50% chance.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought you got a little upset when I said 50 million.
No, he likes money.
He liked that. Look at him smile. He likes that.
Well, yeah.
He's like that.
Who's he related to? And LeMahieu will reach.
By the way, your friend Tony, even though he doesn't like me, he was really, really good.
He was great. I'm telling you, these sports radio guys.
Yeah, they're
you like Gargano last week?
I love Anthony.
Yeah.
Oh, man, he's my buddy. I'm going to call him for a cheesecake when I go to Philly next time.
You know, it was such a quick inning. We've had such long innings. I wanted to ask Tony, would the Red Sox, who don't want to sign people in their 30s, really try to stick it to the Yankees and bid on Judge?
And a short-term deal, maybe like Big Papi, both for big money.
Yeah, I don't know if Judge would go that short.
No, you're right. You're probably right.
And here is Aaron Judge, like we wrote it.
If you're Aaron Judge, what are you looking for? Let's just say you want to stay in New York.
Right.
And you turn down 33, 34, and you had this banner year.
Well, I thought that at the beginning when they offered him the 30 and a half, he was looking for 36 to be the highest paid position player.
That was before he became Babe Ruth.
I think things have changed.
How much?
He's probably looking closer to 38 or 40.
So wait a minute.
But I don't know if he would take 7. He probably wants 8 years, too, now.
So wait a minute. So he's on pace to hit 60 home runs, or 55, something like that.
Right.
And it went up $3 million per year?
You think it went up more?
I don't think people really give enough credit to how much pride there is in these superstar players.
Mm-hmm.
When you double down and you hit the jackpot, I think it's a completely different conversation. I think his agent comes to the table and says, let's just start from scratch. Charlie, what do you think, buddy?
Charlie, want Aaron Judge to come back? Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Good analytics. That's grounded to third. That could be it. There's one on to first. And that will do it as the Red Sox beat the Yankees 11-6. And they split a 4-game set. You guys want to, would you put your shirt down, Charlie? Would you like to do a gritty, Callie? No? No? All right, there you go. They don't shut up at home.
Well, Michael, I can just tell you, they got the looks from Jody, not from you, because they're beautiful kids.
Thank you so much. Anyway, it's been a good KayRod today, all right?
It was great.
Let's do it again next Sunday.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll come back next week. We got a lot of big guests. Thanks to all the guests that we had. And the Yankees lose to the Red Sox. They split a 4-game set. Remember, next Sunday, another KayRod. Billy Crystal, the great Billy Crystal, is with us, starring on Broadway, Mr. Saturday Night.
Now, who's this guy up?
This is Aaron Judge. You might have heard of him.
He's very big.
What do you remember about that time with us?
You know, some of the advice you gave me, you know, how hard you have to work to be able to play at a level you want to play at. Getting to take BP with you guys, you know, at that level was pretty huge.
Did you ever get to meet DiMaggio?
Yes. The door opens, Joe comes out and looks at me and punches me in the stomach. And he goes, world's greatest living player. So I thought it was Willie Mays.
Is there a day that goes by in your life, Bucky, that you don't think about that home run?
No, not really.
David Cohn saw that we were talking to you guys. I bet you Mike Torres wants to reach over and punch Bucky right in the face.
I paid Mickey Rivers a lot of money to tell me that it was a cork bat that he.
Now, David, you have an undergrad degree from Princeton and a master's from Yale. You're way too smart for this show. Maybe not for Michael, but certainly for me.
Of course, my sister Florence could hit the ball out of right field at Yankee Stadium.
That was one of the great highlights of my career right there.